Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Tyendinaga Mohawk Council meeting on May the 1st, 2024. I would like to welcome all of those who are joining us by Zoom call this morning. And it's a beautiful day. The sun is shining. The leaves are coming on the trees. There's flowers coming up. And I would like us all at this time to be thankful for everything that the Creator has provided for us. For the home, for the fact that we have a roof over our head, because there's many that are struggling to find housing. For the water that we have that's healthy, that doesn't make us sick. For the food that the Creator provides us, for the sun that's shining, warming the earth to cause the growing time, the planting time. For the rain that replenishes the earth and causes things to grow, so that our journey through life will be comfortable, that we'll have food to eat to satisfy our hunger. Let us be thankful for our family and our communities, our neighbors. Let us ask the Creator to help us in the decisions that we make so that there'll be a good outcome of the work that we do. And I would like you all now to bow your head in your own way and in your spirit to give thanks to the Creator for all that He provides for us. Don't go so boyadism.
Oh, yeah.
So you have before you an agenda dated May the 1st. The first item is to review and adopt the agenda. We have the minutes of April the 19th and April 23rd, local business. We have the business registration for Total Source Construction. We have harvesting request from Daniel Miles. We have a harvesting request from Rachel Burns. There's income assistance for the Good Minds Supportive Tiny Homes Program policy that needs to be approved. We have a Head Start policy with revisions. And I'll be asking the staff to go over, just highlight what the revisions are for the benefit of council and the people listening. The LFTC daycare funding agreement has to be approved and signed. The long-term care loan security, this is an interim security just during the construction period. The CMHC will be taking a security agreement on the revenue, the 48 million from the Ministry of Long-Term Care after construction is completed. The Ferry Lane Shannonville boat launches, there's some items there and some costings for different options. And so hopefully we can come to a decision about that. We have the MQ Personnel Policy Chapter 4, it needs to some revision. There's a Canada Summer Jobs Contribution Agreement to be signed. The upcoming meetings are May 15th, local business, May 21st, regular council, May 22nd, local council, June 10th, regular council, June 19th, local business, June 19th, regular council, June 26th, local business. So the add-ons are the foundations for the Tiny Homes Project, the ISO bulk planning studies, the Ministry of Natural Resources, its own 20 committee. And then there's the AI delegate resolution that has to be signed nominating the voting delegates. And we have 5 voting delegates from council and 2 youth. So the first item of business is to review and adopt the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll move it.
Moved by Aguirre. And remember, you have to speak into the microphone so people online can hear you. It's been moved by Aguirre.
I'll second that, Chief.
Chris Brandt. Thank you very much. Is there anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. We have the minutes of April 19th. And so I was present, Aguirre was present, Chris Brandt was present, Curtis was present, Aaron was present, Linda was present, Chris Miracle was present. Sherry Miracle, the CAO, was present. Angela Miracle, Senior Director of Operations, was present. Shelley was present. And my assistant, Amzi, was present. It was moved by Aguirre and seconded by Aaron to adopt the agenda, and that motion was carried. Allison Lynn is the our representative at the Woodland Cultural Center, joined the meeting by Teams to provide an update on the Woodland Cultural Center. It was moved by Chris Miracle and seconded by Chris Brandt to acknowledge the presentation by Allison Lynn. And just a couple of typos there. The motion was carried. Motion 3 was moved by Aguari and seconded by Linda that the council minutes of May 18th, 2024 be approved, and the motion was carried. Motion 4, moved by Aaron and seconded by Curtis that the council minutes of April the 5th be approved, the motion was carried. Motion 5 was moved by Linda and seconded by Aguari to approve the following meetings outside the territory. The Chief will be attending the Chiefs of Ontario Committee on Social Update on May the 29th in Toronto, and this is concerning the Child Welfare Agreement. The Ontario First Nations Limited Partnership Annual General Meeting will take place on July the 4th, 2024 in Toronto. It was Chief and Aguari and Linda will be attending the Association of Iroquois and Allied Indians. And Curtis, you were attending as well?
I am now, yeah.
Okay, we'll just add it in there then. With Chief Aguari, Curtis, and Aaron attending the Chiefs of Ontario Annual General Assembly on June the 11th to the 13th in Six Nations. Aguari, Curtis, and Aaron will be attending the Iroquois Caucus meeting on May 28th to 30th in Ganawagi. The motion was carried. Motion 6 was moved by Aaron and seconded by Chris Brandt that the council hereby approve to nominate Stacia Locke for the AI Deputy Grand Chief position at the Association of Iroquois and Allied Indians General Assembly being held on June the 4th to the 6th, hosted by the Caldwell First Nation in Windsor. The motion was carried. As part of the relationship built with Sandy Pines Wildlife Center, council watched a video that the MBQ Environment was prepared, assisted by the Sandy Pines Wildlife Center in creating. It is an educational course that will be offered online to elementary schools to support environment and cultural education. Motion 7 was moved by Aguari and seconded by Aaron to approve the Sandy Pines Wildlife Center to the use of the video for online to elementary schools to support environmental and cultural education. The motion was carried. Motion 8 was moved by Aguari and seconded by Curtis that the proposed hydro connection at 1056 Ridge Road was reviewed and it was approved. The motion was carried. Motion 9 was moved by Aaron and seconded by Aguari that the proposed hydro connection at 13 York Road was reviewed and approved, and the motion was carried. Motion 10 was moved by Aaron and seconded by Curtis to acknowledge the Iroquois Caucus draft schedule and topics of discussion for the meeting May 28th to 30th, 2024, and that motion was carried. Motion 11 was moved by Aaron and seconded by Curtis to approve the business registration for Blow Up Rentals, owner Jasmine Nicholson. The motion was carried. Motion 11 was moved by Aguari and seconded by Aaron to approve the business registration for J&J Distributors, owner Jasmine Nicholson. The motion was carried. Motion 13 was moved by Aguari and seconded by Linda to approve the business registration for Coffee Chief, owner Matthew O'Rourke. The motion was carried. Motion 14 was moved by Chris Miracle and seconded by Chris Brandt to approve the scheduling a meeting with Craig Smith, the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry, on May 15th at 4 p.m. The motion was carried. Motion 15 was moved by Aaron and seconded by Aguari to approve to pay Alan Pratt invoice 6276 in the amount of $3,456 for the Culberson Tract partial settlement. Motion was carried. Motion 16 was moved by Aaron and seconded by Linda to approve to pay the Hicks Morley invoice in the amount of $1,008 and the amount of $560 for human resources, and the motion was carried. Motion 17 was moved by Aaron and seconded by Aguari to approve to pay JFK Law invoices in the amount of $2,991 regarding cannabis jurisdiction. Motion was carried. Motion 18 was moved by Chris and seconded by Aaron to approve the awarding of the contract to build all contractors for the First Nations Technical Institute storm sewer replacement in the amount of $59,741. The total budget is $78,089. The motion was carried. Motion 19 was moved by Aguari and seconded by Aaron to approve the two tiny homes that MBQ purchased from Aboriginal Labor Force Development Circle utilize traditional foundations with crawl spaces, 4-foot frost wall, and strip footings, approve the site plan for phase 2 and approve the updated budget totaling $378,450. The motion was carried. Motion 20 was moved by Aguirre and seconded by Chris to approve to pay JFK Law invoices. A number of them actually there. The one for $288, $1,983, $2,977, $2,055, $799.54, $1,292, $3,094, $114, $96, $46, $6,354, and $257.60. So some of them relate to housing issues, the elders' care. I guess most of them relate to housing issues. And there's 2 of them that relate to the elders' care facility, $6,354 and $257.60. That motion was carried. I guess these invoices have been sitting somewhere, have they, Angela?
Well, they were sent from OPT. So
They just sent to batch them all at once? So they haven't been billing us then?
that's what I received, and we sent it off to get it back onto the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Motion 21 was moved by Chris Brandt and seconded by Curtis to approve to pay Miller Thompson invoice in the amount of $195 for the Mohawk Golf Course. Advice. Motion 22 was moved by Chris Miracle and seconded by Curtis to approve the signing of the capital project submission project change request for the approval for the water treatment plant Aquarius tank rehabilitation, an increase in the amount of $68,000. The motion is carried, and we have received notification from Indigenous Services Canada that has been approved. The council confirmed the following meetings. April 23rd is the local business. May the 1st is regular council. May the 15th is local business. May the 21st is regular council. May the 22nd is local business. June the 10th is regular. June the 19th is local business. June the 19th is regular. And June the 26th is local business. Motion 23 is moved by Linda and seconded by Gloria. This meeting go into private. The council went into private at 3:15 p.m. The motion was carried. Those are the minutes that have been presented. And there's just some editorials with motion 2, the word 2, and it just take the D off acknowledge. The other correction is in motion 7. The use of the video to the word of is inserted. And those are the corrections to the minutes. Is there any other corrections, errors, omissions, or corrections to the minutes? Anyone have any errors, omissions, or corrections to the minutes?
No, Chief.
Seeing none, can we have a motion to accept the minutes as corrected?
I'll make the motion.
Aguirre, is there a seconder?
I'll second that, Chief.
Is there anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. We have the minutes of April the 23rd. So the April 23rd, 24, the meeting was held at 7:20 p.m. in the council chambers. It was a local business meeting. I was present, Chris Brandt was present, Curtis was present, Aaron was present, Chris Miracle was present, Aguirre was present, Linda was present, but joined by teams. The CAO, Sherry Miracle, was present. The Director of Operations was present, Angela Miracle. Shelley Bowden, Executive Administrative Assistant, was present as well. At 8:15, Council discussed the request from Jason Brandt, Tyendinaga Police Chief, requesting a council resolution to hire 2 new constables and a request for a hydro connection. Motion 3 was moved by Curtis and seconded by Aaron, that the council acknowledge the recommendation from Jason Brandt, Tyendinaga Police Service, to the Ontario Police Commissioner of the appointment of Noah Sager to the position of constable within the Tyendinaga Police Service, effective immediately under the terms of the Ontario First Nations Policing Agreement. Mohawk Council Resolution 5 was carried and signed. Motion 4 was moved by Curtis and seconded by Aaron, that the Tyendinaga Mohawk Council acknowledge the recommendation of Jason Brandt, Tyendinaga Police Chief, to the Ontario Police Commissioner of the appointment of Trey Barty to the position of constable within the Tyendinaga Police Service effective June the 1st under the terms of the Ontario First Nations Policing Agreement. The motion was carried. Motion 5 was moved by Curtis and seconded by Chris Brandt, that whereas the proposed hydro connection at 39 Cent was reviewed and approved, motion was carried. Motion 6 was moved by Chris and seconded by Barry that this meeting be adjourned, and the meeting adjourned at 8:45 p.m. The motion was carried. Are there any errors, corrections, or omissions to these minutes? If not, could I have a mover to accept that approve them? And a second.
I'll motion that, chief.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second it, Chief.
Curtis. Is there anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. Is there any business arising from the minutes? There's just one question I have, and if you know the answer, the motion for the F&TI drainage, where is the difference in money coming from? Is F&TI paying that, or who's paying that difference?
Familiar with that one?
My understanding it's us. Under the commercial properties account.
The commercial properties account, so the band is,
Well, yeah, the commercial properties budget, sorry. Money that they pay for the lease payments would go into the commercial properties.
okay, 'cause I noticed that where the council's approved one thing, but the contract with Bill was more.
I think it was the other way around.
Pardon me?
They said total budget was 78,000 and build all was 59,000.
So they're actually below budget.
Oh, okay, maybe I read it wrong then. Okay, that's fine then.
Well, there'd be the
Yeah, I didn't.
fees and stuff like that. There'd be other things that come out of there.
Okay, it is less, okay. And is there some difference why it's less? It's just he put it in lower bid, or?
Well, there's probably
Or is it work
there's
reduced?
usually a 5%
He wasn't the lower bid, Chief.
He wasn't?
contingency. There's usually a contingency, and then it's like a 5%.
So-
He was the second lowest bidder. The reason the actual lowest bidder didn't get awarded the project is because they didn't, in their submission, they omitted some items that we had asked for.
So they didn't bid on the whole scope of work?
Yes,
Okay,
that's why Bill Dahl was awarded as
Okay.
the next lowest bidder.
Okay, because I had a different explanation of it. than what you
Yeah, they
just
didn't have the
presented.
bond insurance. Or
Yeah,
something.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I went and found out. That was the bond they couldn't get.
Oh.
Apparently his man was gone away or something, so he couldn't get it. He wasn't. He didn't really care. But I guess he did. But he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. So
okay.
that's why it went up to that one.
So Bill Dahl bid on the full scope of work?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. That answers my question. Is there any other business arising from the minutes? So the police have the resolutions, and so we'll be expanding our police service. I did have a question, Sherry, maybe you can answer. When are the interviews taking place with the transition? Some of the officers are asking. Do they have to
I'm-
compete for their job in the interview process? They need some more information.
Okay. I'll have to
Um,
look into that. Chief.
As it currently stands, the chief of police still has to be hired. But the chief of police will be appointing the officers, not the council.
And so the question I was asked, is there going to be a competition?
Not for the officer's position, but for the chief of police there will be.
Okay. I was asking, do you have any idea when that'll take place, so Warren?
Not off the top of my head. I know we have another meeting on the 8th, I believe. it
Okay,
is,
if we
of
can get an
sponsor
update on that, that would be great. And the other thing, there needs to be communication going out to concerning that when you're ready to do the interviews.
Yeah, like I know the police services board, they're still in the process of being incorporated. So once they're a corporation, they do all their own draft policies, then they hire the chief of police.
Okay. If we can just get an update where things are at with that.
When did you say that meeting was, Corey? May 8th?
Yeah,
And who's the legal counsel handling the corporation, ABN?
I have to ask Lisa, I don't know for sure.
Okay, if we can just get an update, a briefing note, that'd be fine. Thank you. Meetings outside of the territory. Any of the council have meetings outside the territory that have not already been approved? You put it in here? Yeah, just the meeting on May the 29th. I think that's already been approved in the minutes. It's approved, it's already in the minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
Here. I know.
Also not sure if anybody has let Amy know at the airport conference who's attending the meeting.
It's in the minutes, I guess, who's going to your caucus and who's going to the AI meeting. It's in,
When the meeting got approved, I sent the agenda sheet to Shu, who has registered the organizer.
okay. So these, we should probably then deal with this item now then, so we can get the AIA delegates. So Angela's just informed me this morning that we need a motion to appoint Sarah McNeil and Evelyn Shackle as youth representatives for Mohawk Quinny for AIAI. Is there a resolution, motion, mover of the resolution to do that?
I will make the motion.
Moved by
And
Aaron
second.
and seconded by Linda. Is anyone opposed? So the motion is carried, the resolution is carried. That'll require an MCR. Now we might as well,
Did they need an MCR to go on the AIA youth committee? I don't think so. But we do need an MCR.
no,
to-
we do need a resolution. Whoever's representing the event, we need to send them a resolution.
Oh, okay. I would have thought it was a letter, but
No, a resolution.
okay.
Because they're going to be voting delegates there.
I know, but that. Right.
Okay, well, however we communicate, that's fine. But a resolution, a letter, it's the same as long as we communicate.
Correct.
Okay, so they're voting delegates. They need to be listed on the so there's 2 voting youth delegates. So they'll be the youth, and they've confirmed they're going to attend. So attending the AII Chiefs, the AII General Assembly in Windsor, hosted by Caldwell, will be, I'll be attending. Aguari will attend. Linda, Curtis, and Chris is going to attend by Zoom. And Aaron, were you attending?
No, I can't attend that one.
And Aaron won't be attending. So that and the 2 youth will be Sarah McNeil and Evelyn Shackle. Can we identify the council members as the voting delegates and the 2 youth? Because we have 6 members of council, and as we have 7 on council, we have 5 voting delegates, so there'll be 5 councillors will be voting.
Council members, yep.
So who wants to be a voting member? Put up your hand.
It's AIA?
AI. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yourself.
Chris, you're not going? Okay. And myself. Okay, so they'll be the voting delegates. And the 2 youth. That's 5 and 2. So Aaron and Chris are not available? Okay. Okay, do we have a mover to identify those 5 people and 2 youth to be the voting delegates for
I'll move that, Chief.
Chris? That's a resolution. Is there a second? Chris Brandt? Is there a seconder?
I'll second, Chief.
Oguari? Anyone opposed?
I'm opposed.
Chris is one opposition noted. Aaron's opposed. Do you want to record the reason for your opposition?
I don't think it's appropriate in
Okay,
this situation.
In case the council doesn't know, the previous deputy grand chief was unable to fulfill the responsibilities of the job. And so the chiefs were not getting any information back from the meetings that were scheduled with the Ontario government. And some of these meetings were quite important, but we didn't have any representation there, nor did he call anyone to ask someone else to attend. And so there was really an abandonment of the work that needed to be done. And so the chiefs, actually some of the chiefs were, were quite concerned about it. And so the person did resign. And he did have a death in his family, so there were extenuating circumstances. And so then Stacia Loft was asked to fill in on an interim basis because there was only a few months till the election, and she had done the job before and knew some of the information. So anyway, so then there's going to be a full-time deputy grand chief hired. They may decide to have two positions because there is a lot of work and a lot of meetings and stuff like that. So I don't know. We'll find out more when we get there. Okay, number 3, we've got the chief's upcoming council of meetings outside the territory, and they're already in the minutes, so that's done. There's a school that wants me to speak sometime in May, or is that in Arm Prior, or is that MC? Is there any date picked for it yet? Okay. 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 Okay, there's a new business registration for Total Source Construction, and the owner is John T. Miracle, and they install septic systems, water connections, hydro connections. The environmental inspection has been completed, fire inspection is completed, and he has insurance on file. The recommendation is to approve. Do I have a mover and seconder?
I'll move, Chief.
Ogwari
I'll second, Chief.
and Curtis. Is there anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. The harvesting permission for Daniel Alexander Miles. And he is from the Chippewas of Kettle and Stony Point. He's contacted MBQ to harvest in the Madoc area from May the 29th, 2024 to June 30th. And Daniel has his status card and a PAL have not expired. The recommendation is to grant permission to harvest for Daniel Alexander Miles in that area. Is there a mover and seconder?
I'll move that, Chief.
Is there a seconder?
I'll
second.
second, Chief.
Ogwari? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. There's a request for harvesting permission for Rachel Elizabeth Burns. She is a returning fisher and hunter and has contacted MBQ and requested for us to harvest in our area. Elizabeth Burns is a member of the Docus First Nation of the Robinson Huron Treaty Area. Her request for permission to hunt deer from November the 11th to November 17th and the hunting camp in Godfrey, Trout Lake. She will be fishing in trout in the Bay of Quinte. She's got a copy of her status card. Is there a motion to approve?
I can approve that for fishing only as her PAL expires in June.
Yep, agreed.
PAL expired?
Yeah, it expires in June. So
26th of June it expires.
So she'd just have to
Is,
update that.
if
and
she can,
resubmit.
Yeah, if she can, I know it's a long process, but if she can prove the, or give us an update on her valid PAL, then
can we word it so the letter's only valid with a valid PAL?
only with a valid PAL.
If you look at the statement in the issue, it goes on to say that her status card is not, however, her PAL card expires.
Yes.
And she plans to harvest in November. She was sent an email to explain that she needed to update her PAL card before she can hunt. And only fishing will be granted
This,
under this request.
so yes.
So only fishing.
So we can make a motion then to approve it on the condition that she maintains an up-to-date PAL card,
Well, we're
a
only,
valid PAL card.
this is only requesting support for the fishing piece only.
For the time being.
Yeah.
Okay, then we'll have a motion to approve the fishing.
I already made the motion.
Okay, and seconded for the fishing. Okay,
I'll second that.
Corey and Chris. Anyone opposed? And so you will send her a letter then, I guess, that saying that we approve the fishing for now, and she'll have to have a PAL card to get the hunting in November.
And then she'll have to request for the hunting piece separately.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
So these letters will have to be redrafted.
Can we not just, can we not just grant her permission at a later date upon, because she's asking for both right now, but if she can prove a valid.
That's why I said make it
Yes.
so she's allowed to hunt with a valid PAL.
Yes, so she doesn't have to go through the whole process again, that Sherry, you could take care of it yourself when she, if she approves or she proves to us that her PAL is now updated, going past the hunting season, well then. we
Well,
can-
the only reason why administratively they have a copy of the PAL with the application, so we know we have proof. that
We
have it.
know it.
So
Exactly.
so they don't always turn it in, then they don't know, it just requires more follow-up. She's not gonna hunt till November, and so she has plenty of time to get the PAL and to apply, just send
That's
another
right.
letter.
So we need to verify that she has a,
Exactly, but I don't think it has to come back to council to approve it again if we just go by the understanding by all of us that if she sends in a valid PAL that is newly updated going past the hunting season that she is requesting, then we can just grant her the permission without having to come back to council.
I'm good with that.
You can make that in the motion then if the mover and second are agreeable. It's been moved by O'Gary and Chris Brandt to approve fishing now, and then
Because it's a
provided,
long
and
process.
we will approve the PAL in November. We'll issue her the letter in November when she brings in the valid PAL. Are you agreeable with that, O'Gary? Then it won't have to come back to council. If she follows that, then I'll sign off the letter.
Yeah.
Okay, but I can't sign off a letter unless I see a valid PAL.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay, is council agreeable with that then? The motion is carried then. But the letter will say unless she has a valid PAL, we won't be signing a letter, Sherry.
yeah.
Sam Miracle at the Ontario Works Administrator Britta Geddes Good Minds. The Income Assistance Good Minds supported the housing program policy and procedures have been collaboratively developed by the Ontario Works Administrator, Good Minds Program Manager, and the Director of CWC. The Housing Director, the Director of Housing and the Policy Analyst. The policy is being submitted to TMC for approval. TMC approved policy. Has all of council had a chance to read this policy?
I reviewed it.
So it was compiled in April of 2024. If all of council's had a chance to review this policy and are comfortable with it, is there a motion to approve it?
I will move.
Pardon me?
I will move, Chief.
Okay, moved by Linda
I'll second, Chief.
and Ogwari. Is there anyone opposed to this policy? It's been moved and seconded to adopt the policy. Anyone opposed? The policy's been drafted in April, and it's for the income assistance. It's called the Tiny House Housing Program Policy.
So I have a question.
These are the ones up in Shenandoah.
First of all, I'm going to ask: has everybody read the policy?
So it talks about,
We're on number 7.
thank you. It talks about single occupants. And it says, oh, not appropriate for clients who are currently living with dependents. So if someone is living with a dependent, they can't apply?
Well, if they're living, the way I understand, if they're living with a dependent, then they're not homeless.
But what if it's an overcrowding situation? What if they're sleeping on someone's couch?
But
Okay.
right now, to address the homeless, right? So there's a lot of people who wrote there who were single people.
Right?
So we're addressing that issue first.
So you're taking someone that's living in their car? Like potential.
But that's a single person,
Well,
right?
that's homelessness. If you live
Exactly.
in a car, it's
Yeah.
not a home.
I understand that, yeah, we take someone's living in a car, but I think a lot of these people are already living with somebody. You're sleeping in someone's basement, you're
Okay,
sleeping on a
let-
couch.
Tom was, can we bring Tom in, please? And maybe we can get Susan on the,
I think Sam drafted
It's
it.
Sam's.
Yeah, so it'd be more appropriate here from Sam to put somebody else regurgitating someone else's interpretation.
So are we asking for Sam, or I'm not sure Tom?
well, Tom collaborated on this because the two of them they work together.
But they're not, Tom's not administering it.
Yeah, I would
And
prefer we
it's
defer this till maybe
for
later on
single
today and
people.
hear it from Sam.
And it's 4 single people,
Yeah.
right? And it's a tiny home, so there isn't really.
So
much
can we
room for
link,
children.
Sam up
couples.
on the computer with the Zoom call now?
Sorry?
Can we link Sam up?
If she's able to. I
If she's, can you see if she's free?
I'm trying to understand the
I
scenarios.
can give her a call, Angela, to find if she's free. You can like,
Are you calling or do you want me to?
you can give her a call.
I just didn't want to do it too.
We can get an answer to that question. And the question, does it deal with overcrowding? Are people that are living in overcrowded conditions, are they eligible? Because really, I would think if they don't have a roof over their head that they control, they're at the mercy of somebody else.
It has a list of the things that would make them qualify or eligible for this.
Oh, we took all the chairs.
There, Tom, you can pull it here if you want. You don't have to wheel it all the way down there.
Too late.
Okay.
When you're already there.
Okay, so a question has arisen at council about the tiny house policy. And so is it really meant for people who are homeless? Or is it, because if somebody's living with somebody else on a temporary basis and there's overcrowding, and they're residing with someone. The section of the policy you referred to, Chris, which section was that?
It's in the policy statement, second paragraph.
Okay.
Policy statement.
Clients who are not appropriate for clients who are currently living with dependents or working towards living with dependents. How can somebody be working towards?
Trying to have a kid.
I'm sorry?
Trying to have a kid.
Or trying to get their custody back, where custody may have been taken away. So these don't, one has one bedroom, one doesn't have any bedrooms, which is why it's not set up for kids.
Okay. So I'm single, but I'm working towards living, okay, with their children, okay. We're currently living with dependents.
Well,
Gotcha.
so anyhow, there isn't room there for any more than one person to live there. The bedrooms are quite small.
Correct.
So they're really meant for single occupancy,
Okay.
right?
So I'm a client, but I'm sleeping on someone's couch because I don't have nowhere to go.
I
You
would
don't
say-
have your own home. You're sleeping on somebody's couch. You'd qualify.
It says it says it's not appropriate for me because I'm living with my mom or dad.
Those aren't your dependents.
It says living with dependents, with children.
Dependents would
Dependents
be
are kids.
depending on
Our
you.
kids.
Okay. I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that answers your question then, Chris?
thank
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Appreciate
Thank you,
Thank you.
Tom.
It took you longer to move the chair.
Under the hot seat.
No, it's good to ask questions to make sure everybody has a good understanding of what the policy is, because this is, once we approve it, that's what staff will be abiding by. Okay, the motion has been moved and seconded by Linda and Nawari to approve the policy. Is anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. Do we have any dates, Sherry or Angela, when these houses are going to get moved to the foundations? Because they've been in storage now for quite a while.
I'm actually going to be following up with Susan. It's on my list of to-dos because I want to know when they're going to be using those. We do have situations currently right now, I think.
No, but we have houses that are in storage that we need to move to a foundation up in Shannonville.
Okay.
If you can get an update for the next council meeting on when that's going to be done.
I think the foundation.
think it's on the agenda.
I see the foundation.
Just gotta
but I-
approve it.
So they got to get the foundations in. Once those are in, they're ready to be put in place. And
Okay,
Yeah, they were just approved last week.
yeah,
I think
I agree with that.
we already agreed on the foundation.
yeah,
walls 'cause
that's
how these
already
ones were
been
built.
done. For the two.
For the
in
two.
Shenandoah.
yes. So item number 8 is Head Start policy revisions. There is a memo here to council dated May the 1st from Nicole Loft, the Head Start program manager. The Hadi Gosungte Head Start program withdrawal and discharge policy has been updated to include the discharge and termination of program participation. The policy revisions are consistent with the ESCA Ogonha and Child Care Center termination policy and procedures. The policy revisions have been reviewed by the THS program manager and policy analysts. The TMC approved the policy revisions. And have senior staff been part of this review?
I have not. Have you?
Would be Tracy that would be part of
Tracy?
it, and she's initialed it, so.
Yes, Tracy would have
Okay,
reviewed.
does the executive have any concern with this?
Has Shushu got to review it?
It's Shushu reviewed.
Worked with them, yes.
I have no concern because it's being consistent with the daycare center, so we do need consistency across our daycares.
Okay, is there a mover to approve this policy change? If so, can I have a mover and seconder?
I'll move, Chief.
I'll
Kurt-
second.
Curtis and Aaron? Is anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion's carried.
Hey, Chief, is it possible to take a 5-minute break? I gotta make a phone call.
I'm sorry,
Is it possible to take a 5-minute break? I gotta make a phone call.
we can.
All right.
5-minute break, everybody, start to get up. Just wait for Chris and Angela to get seated. And while we're waiting for them, the next item on the agenda is the 24-25 Child Welfare Funding Agreement with ALFTC. And the total yearly funding for the Eska Agonha Child Care Center is $106,000, $420. Has there been any increase in funding? So the question is, with the $106,420 from ALTC for Child Care Center, has there been any increase in funding this year? Last
That's
year?
the same amount that it's been for, at least when I was there in 2016, it was still that amount.
Okay, is there a need for increase in funding?
I'm sure there's a need across many areas that,
Okay, so can we do a review of that and then articulate what it is, and maybe we can send a letter over to LFTC? Like, I know they have a budget and they have only so much money, but normally the wages go up, the cost of insurance goes up, everything goes up, so maybe the funding should go up accordingly. But I don't know if they have budget or not, but we won't know unless we write a letter. So please assess what the need is and prepare a letter for my signature. Motion to approve to sign the contribution agreement. Aaron? Who'll second it?
I will second.
Linda? Anyone opposed?
When is this, with the request of finding out about increase? Should we not wait?
Is that just a question? or
Well,
was that part
really,
of
it's
the-
up to us if we have funding issues, then it's up to our organization to communicate that to them. Shelley?
right?
Yeah.
It's already been signed.
Yeah, I've signed it because we got bills to pay.
Yeah, okay.
We
We-
have bills to pay the 1st of April, so this is now May the 1st, so we don't need to hold up the money.
If we do a formal request, we can do an amendment or
that'd be
to
good.
that agreement if we are successful to get
Okay.
more funding.
Okay, that's great.
So Angela, if you and Sherry can work with the daycare manager in Cecil, if there's funding pressures, we need to communicate that because they advocate
Yeah,
for more
we'll
money.
have Tracy look into it,
Yep.
the director.
And if we're short of money, then if we have extra costs, then please identify what they are. Because from time to time, they do send out, if you have capital repairs, some of that can be covered.
Yep, they send out notices for that, yep.
Okay. The motion is carried. The long-term care loan security, we've got a request into the minister's office, Minister Patty Hadju, and her staff to see if that new Indigenous loan guarantee program can cover this, Sherry, because there's a $5 billion loan guarantee program under budget 2024 for economic projects, and it's agonistic, which means it's not project specific. And so we just need to get more information, but I think as a temporary measure, we could prove this. We won't need it. The other thing I would wait signing the CMHC agreement because the interest rates are supposed to drop in June. And we don't need this money until later in the fall.
Okay.
But we should have it approved just in case we do have to fall back. And it's temporary security only during the construction period. Once the home is constructed and operational, you take your first patient in there, then the money starts to flow from the long-term care. Then CMHC will take a general security agreement on the future revenues from the Ministry of Long-Term Care, which is $48 million to pay back a $29 million loan.
My understanding, it's about a year and a half. We need to secure that security net for. Is that
Yeah,
right?
this is only temporary during the construction period because we can't. The contractor has a construction grant to satisfy the long-term care, the Ministry of Long-Term Care, but CMHC needs some kind of security to enter into the contribution agreement with us, and they will give us a $6 million contribution.
And what organization may have some funding that we could,
It's the 2024 budget announcement, which I sent around to everybody.
Yeah.
There's a $5 billion Indigenous Loan Guarantee Program. And it's going to operate out of the PMO's office, the Privy Council office. So we need to get more information about the administration of that. So we prepared a letter maybe to Christia Freeland to ask her how is that all going to work. So we know who to contact. But she did make the announcement at the Major Capital Projects Symposium last week.
so we may not need to.
We may not need it, but in case we do, we should probably have it in place.
Okay.
Is there a mover?
I'll move that, Chief.
Chris?
I'll second, Chief.
So it's really risk-free. It won't affect the interest or anything. It's just, we have the money to say we've got this one. Who'll second it? Curtis?
Yes, I did.
Anyone opposed? Seeing not, we'll need an MCR for that. And it's temporary security, we're just during the construction period. Yeah, but that's what it is. I just would like that in the minutes. It's not for the duration alone, because they're going to take a general security agreement. We've had that discussion with Sean Story and Trim Kenya from CHC. The Ferry Lane and Shanville boat launches. So the option 1 is to have minimum repair to the dock. Option 2 is full repair to the dock. Option 3 is buy a new dock system and use the existing structure. And option 4 is remove the dock and restrict access to the ramp only until the full replacement. So can we bring Tom in, because he's handling this project?
Yeah.
So the
It was a combination of both Tom and Tom.
can we bring them both in?
Tom, yeah. So they amalgamated.
They're both kind
together
of
on it now.
handling it.
Okay, so let's bring them both in.
Todd's not here today.
Okay.
We can get Tom's
And Pete's not here.
fee anyway.
So you can read over the memo while we're waiting for them?
Got it.
So first of all, Tom, thank you very much for the briefing note on the Ferry Lane and Shanville boat launches. And I know that you did apply for funding last year, but we were not successful with our application. So really there requires a budget and maybe a scaled down project than what was previously contemplated. So the council had requested some options, and if we can just maybe talk about the Shannonville one seems to be the one that's going to be the least costly. Is that correct?
Correct.
So I see here that the Shannonville boat launch requires repairs to the floats and boards. Is that all that requires to make that usable?
As far as I know, yep. Right now, half of it's already out. It was put out to help in the search for
Do you know what the cost of the Shannon? So that will cost. Is that covered in option 1 for $3,718?
I don't have it in front of me, but I think so, yeah.
Just a question before we go farther. Sorry, is that well in these, you're saying that Shannonville is the least cost, the least, but your numbers are saying the opposite, where Ferry Lane is costing
Well,
less.
that's what I'm asking. Is it the least costly?
Even
Because some of these are not recommended.
So one of them is minimum repairs
Yeah.
Include just a few boards, the boards that are rotten and the floats, and the other one,
Yeah,
and a couple floats that are,
But the fair,
insured. Then the other option is to do all of the boards and all of the floats.
Like, I don't want anything there that's unsafe. Okay, I don't want somebody getting hurt there. So,
Right now, the only thing that would be unsafe is on Ferry Lane, the braces that hold up the wood part
Okay.
that's attached
if
to
we
the
can deal,
concrete is.
okay,
is
my
bent.
understanding is that the ferry lane overall, if we go for a better option, is going to cost more than the boat launch in Shannonville. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, if you go with a whole new structure.
If you go with a whole new structure, if we
Okay.
just piecemeal it and make it,
Okay, but if you piecemeal it, is it going to be safe?
Ferry Lane has bent braces, so.
for a year, a whole season last year was the exact same. I used it almost like every weekend. So that was the same bent bracing last year as it is now. It's not bent more, and obviously it can't bend less.
If you
but
want to put it out, you can do that. You do
Yeah,
have the
no, no,
authority
I'm
and the
just saying that,
decision-making capacity.
we're just gonna discuss what you have a second,
Okay,
but
I
I'm
don't-
just stating a fact that it was the same last year.
Okay,
as it is.
before we divide it, can we hear from Tom
yes.
to answer the question? So which option are you recommending for Shannonville?
I believe the recommendation was for that decision to be made by council.
It was, sorry, Tom, I didn't catch that.
He's asked for council to make the decision of how you want to move forward with these two launches.
Okay, but which one is going to be the safest?
Well, a full replacement for Ferry Lane would be the
Okay, but
safest.
I asked we could focus on Shannonville first. Is that going to,
Shan,
what kind of budget do we need to
Depends what you want to do. Do you want to buy a whole new dock system? Do you want to just make the bare minimum repairs, or do you want to make?
if we make the bare
Full
minimum repairs, will it be safe to operate for this year?
In Shanville, yes.
In Shannonville, yes?
Correct.
And what will that cost?
$3,718.
$3,718.86.
And so that's option one, to repair, minimum repairs to the dock. But does that replace all the boards or just the rotten ones?
Just the damaged ones.
Because I don't want anybody injured, okay? So if they need to be replaced, we replace them all if they're not good.
So that would be option two.
so that would be option two. And option two costs for Shannonville would now go to $14,396.
Okay, so in your, has this dock been inspected? Are the boards still, some of the boards still good?
Which is why you have two options. You can replace just the ones that are damaged, or you can replace all of
Okay,
them.
so do we need to replace them all?
No.
Okay, then we should probably then go with option one for Shannonville.
Chief, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Can we not do option one, option three, and fix the braces? We repair what we got, so we have something for the next few months. We order new docks. We get the old ones, put them out to tender. The repair costs will be more than covered when we tender it out, and someone can have it for a private dock,
Okay.
and I would probably bid on it.
Okay,
But that way, we're fixed, we're in the water, and we get new docks.
You can't do the in-water work until July 15th.
I'm sorry?
You can't do in-water work until July 15th.
Is that for harvest reasons? Like, I mean, for the spawn and whatever?
Environmental, I don't know if
Environmental?
it's to do with harvesting or spawning.
Okay, but that's environment, that's
Okay.
something that's, okay.
instead of jumping back and forth on the ferry, but let's try to focus on one dock at a time.
Just a shed.
So then can we go ahead with the minimum repairs and for $3,718 to fix up the Shannonville dock to make it usable for this year? If so, I would like a motion to do that.
I'd like to motion that, chief. I think that would be the best way to go.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved by Chris to approve a budget of $3,718.86 to fix up, to do the minimum repairs to the dock in Shannonville. And I guess then is this with a view to that there may have to be a replacement dock next year, Tom?
That was just an option we provided because council wanted all the cost off.
Okay, but
It would have to be looked at again next year to
but
see if there's more.
After the repairs are done, make sure it's inspected and that it's safe. We don't want
Yeah.
anything that's unsafe.
Absolutely.
Now, let's go over to the ferry dock. So there's different options there. Full repair to the dock is $12,938.52 for full repair. And to buy a new dock is $3,740, $337,440. Is that installed?
The new dock would be installed,
And that would have to wait till July 15th.
or the bracing would be repaired again, yes.
I got a question.
But it would probably be till July or August before we would see the dock anyways.
Okay, I've got a question now. We have a cement, we do have a cement slab there that this, that the, I don't know, what do you even call that little tiny extension? That's an 8-foot extension off of the cement. Why not remove that 8-foot extension, apply the hinges to the cement that's already there, and then run an extra 8 foot of new dock out. So in other words, if you have a 40-foot dock, well then order in a 48-foot dock to give the same, you know what I mean, distance out into the water. So that it would take the little foot off of the cement, get rid of it, and start your dock from there.
Maybe.
Like, and that way, you don't have to wait until July the 15th, and the dock can be put out quicker.
How would you get rid of the braces that are currently there sticking out?
Oh, so you can't,
No.
so you can't just,
You can't just jump in and do it.
We would get fined.
You get spanked.
They have
$15th
$300,000
of July to
fines.
September 30th is the window. We're already told it about 30 times.
So I guess what can we do in the, well, option 2, the full repair to the dock. Worker will all have to still wait till July 15th.
To put it out, yeah. Unless she's do what Chris wants to and just put it out anyways. It's your guys' decision.
Well, you might be able to write to DFO because there's a cultural consideration of fishing and stuff like that, but we would have to get permission.
so in option number 1,
So you'd have to call DFO. I don't think they're going to grant any permission while the fish are spawning.
option number 1 for the ferry lane, it would allow us to put it out then? No, still not. So we
I
can't.
wouldn't recommend putting it out, but you can put it out if you want,
Okay, why would you not recommend putting it out, Tom?
because the braces are
Because
bad.
the braces are bent, like it was last year.
The difference is I wasn't aware, so if I would have known it was bent last year, we wouldn't have put it out.
Yeah, well, I think in projects moving forward with something like this, whoever's in charge has to be going and inspecting things. Like, I knew right well it was bent last year, and
If we put it out,
2 years, it could be that much flimsy or whatever now. I don't know.
if we put it out now, we will take a risk of potential harm.
Okay.
Somebody hurting themselves.
Okay, Rick, Chris?
I would recommend, I'm not sure if Crow Dock is still in place, but there are companies such as Crow Dock. They do this stuff for a living. They do it every day. Call a couple of them, have a site meeting immediately, say, look, you're going to be on our short list to be invited to bid on this. What would you suggest we do? Get 2 of them. You say that, pros, cons, this, that. Okay, you guys, here's a 1-page RFP. Give me a couple quotes. I want this done now. But I don't want some engineer from Peterborough or somewhere else. No more engineers, consultants. These people will give you free professional advice.
Okay.
An RFP process is still going to be at least a month or more. There's still time involved in doing an RFP process.
Still, I don't want to have another consultant on this.
No,
You get
Suggesting we're
free
having another
professional
consultant.
advice.
Can you show me in the briefing note where we're having another consultant on this?
I've seen the money we spent on consultants to date on this project.
Because you have an infrastructure department that is in charge of your technical services that brought in a structural engineer to assess the damage and ability to continue to use the ferry lane as directed by council. That engineer said it should be replaced. Council approved to
Okay,
replace
and the
it,
other
and we've
thing-
been doing it on that direction of council for the last 3
And the
years.
other thing, some of the funders have got quite strict now. They want to see professional advice for these
You
projects
don't
before
have
they
to,
start.
People are
at the end of the day,
professionals I'm talking
Cable
about.
Council has the authority, have the jurisdiction. If you guys want to take the liability on yourselves to do it how you just want it, it can be done that way. You just gotta give us the direction. And then now I'm not liable,
Okay,
the
Is
liability
there,
is at the
is
state.
there a
I'm
reason
not-
why we chose, I mean, I wasn't around, but is there a reason, have you used those consultants before?
Q&E, yep.
Okay.
They're right now doing.
All right, and
the
like I
work
said
out on their
before,
part.
construction or Christmas steel in Kingston is also, they're federal or they've got the stamps and everything for Ontario. And their plans would be a part, they're not gonna charge extra
Okay.
for whatever. Anyway, moving forward, yeah, I can understand using the same consultants because you used them in the past.
No, we got prices.
Yeah.
And we did a geotechnical investigation, we did a topographical survey, we did a species at risk. All the things you're supposed to do when you're doing an infrastructure project with community money. I can't stress that enough, that this is not just throwing a dock out in your backyard. As much as we might think that it's okay to just do what we want with the dock, or we're gonna build our house with a certain foundation, that doesn't matter when we're
Okay,
doing these
what
types
I'm
of
going to
projects.
suggest we do, let's
But at the end of the day,
organize,
all council has to do is give the direction, and that's how
Well,
I
I'm-
will direct.
there-
That's
there's
why there's
supposed to be
no
a committee.
recommendation, so that it's not a big argument. Council give me the direction, and then that's how I will proceed.
okay, there was talk of a committee, a doc committee, that was supposed to be meeting since last year. No meetings have taken place. What I'm going to suggest council do is request a meeting with DFO, review the doc proposal, and see what we can do going forward and what's the best solution here that we can implement on an urgent basis. And I guess, is there money, is there budget available for all these options, or does council have to go into the OLG fund?
It would be under parks, and parks are covered by GG or.
But is there
grandma or
money, is there
whatever
money in the
that money
existing
comes from.
budget? Is there
What's
money
that?
in the budget that now for that?
As soon as you make the decision, I'm gonna add it into the budget.
Okay. So, and Cecil's been consulted with these numbers,
No, because there's been no direction.
but I get to about the availability of funds.
There will be available funds.
Yes.
Have we applied to Corda?
For this project, no.
When does the window open?
For Corda, I'm not sure. Offhand, usually I think around the fall.
It's usually in the fall.
So I want to make a motion to apply to Corda and to use professional free advice moving forward. We've been engineered to death on this one. And the so-called committee, although we never had a formal meeting, not one of them agree with spending $1 million down there.
Well, then there must have been a meeting then for that to be decided.
I met with them all individually.
Individually.
You try getting Tom Miracle, Casey, Ken Claus, all in the same room together. No, one's always in Africa, one's in the Caribbean, one's ice fishing, one's hunting. But every single one of them got the report and they said, no more consultants. Just do the basics. Apply to Corda, and I'm all for using our casino dollars to get the things done right, using
Okay.
free professional advice.
Okay, and when we asked the representative from DFO to come to make sure that what we're doing is not going to land us in hot water with DFO, because I don't want a $300,000 fine because we're going ahead on our jurisdiction, because they will fine the band. They will do that.
Yes, they will.
And so to me, I want a meeting with DFO to review these plans. And if we're going to get an exemption to do this dock early, I want something in writing from DFO.
Wait, who gives the free advice?
DFO does.
Now, is it only DFO involvement if, like, so the new, like, if they put new pillars in, if they're going into the ground there, or if, like, what if we change the pillars so they go back towards concrete?
I think it would only require DFO involvement if we're planning to do the work outside of the approved window.
In the water.
Any in-water construction has to wait till July 15th before any in-water construction occurs. And if there are extenuating circumstances, there may be an opportunity to get an exemption from DFO, but we're going to have to request it. So somebody's got to pick up the phone and call DFO to say, we need a meeting about this dock, these dock
But if
issues.
you're gonna go with a new dock there, you're gonna have probably
And the other
2
thing
months
at
lead time to
Shannonville,
get
there
that dock
is,
anyways, so
it
I
is
don't
spawning
see
ground
the-
there.
Chief, if we decide, if the decision at this table is to go with a new dock, Tom is trying to say that it's going to take at least a couple months for a new dock to be built.
Okay, and I guess is council prepared to wait that long?
Would
You're
that
gonna have to
be,
wait till July 15th anyway.
What is the quickest, safest way to go about this, Tom? I'm not an engineer, so don't ask me to make engineering
Quickest,
decisions. I
safest?
want it to be safe.
Would be to close the dock and leave the launch open and use that own risk.
Use at
Okay.
own risk.
So the
Or keep it all closed.
the Deserano boat launch is open now. I see the dock in the water. So can that be used?
Weeks, yeah.
Can that be used? Will we make arrangements with the town until this other one is up and ready?
No,
Why not?
it's a
Chris?
public launch. We don't get any, we wait in line like everybody else has. And if you get there and there's hundreds, and especially this weekend, there's gonna be guys there at midnight right through until, because I've seen it. Last year, well, actually, I launched from our own dock last year. But Deserano is, there's limited use to our dock, which is our people, and a few, non-native, non-status that use ours, but Deserano, I tell you, if there's
Okay.
200 boats launched there every day.
Okay. So what I'd like to do is have a meeting set up here in the council chambers, and I'd like to invite the representatives that are part of this committee. They can either join by Zoom if they're in Florida or Africa or whatever part of the world. Have them join by Zoom, have DFO here, review the plans, and I guess whatever is the safest and whatever we can afford. And the quickest, I guess that's what it seems to be what the council's asking for.
I think, one day that, I'm gonna put out will be this coming Friday. And the reason why is Mr. Claus is coming back just to fish for this weekend. And I know Tommy Bildall is going to be around because there's also in a tournament on Saturday. So,
Okay.
and KC, well, KC doesn't go away very often because it's so busy. But, between Bildall and, Mr. Claus, they're always gone somewhere. They're on the road. Friday would be a good day, and if we could reach out to them and see if we can.
we have strategic planning on Friday.
We have strategic planning Thursday and Friday this week. And to get DFO on such short notice,
Ask Megan to make a phone call to them to see if they could be available.
But considering like us as a people, is it in our best interest to try to get into the water ahead of time, ahead of recommendations, when like we should be
I think we should just leave
respecting
the launch
that?
open at use at your own risk and keep the dock closed until. we
Well,
can get repairs
then,
done.
we better,
Using at your own risk will exempt you from liability. If you know it's unsafe, then you should close it.
well,
Yeah, I
if
feel
it's-
like if we post that it's
nobody can
unsafe,
get
then-
onto the dock, if the dock is not there, then it's just like somebody launching from the shoreline is what it is. But the dock that's pulled up onto the actual launch
Would have to be moved.
would have to be moved.
I'm just thinking like if there's like, well, the fire department, I know the fire department uses ferry lane quite a bit, so.
I know they're down there.
So when we had those high wind events and that tornado, because that tornado did come through there, you can see where F&TI is on the airport, where it knocked down that whole brush of trees. It came through there because it picked up Danny's shed and moved it 10 feet over in the yard. So I think that ferry dock was impacted by that tornado last June. Was the dock in at that time? Maybe that should have been an insurance claim.
Nobody knows.
Because the winds were severe, the waves were high when that storm event
Chris said
happened, and it did a lot of
they were
damage.
bent last year.
They were bent last year. They're bent from the ice.
ice
From
built.
the ice pushing. And the legs that were put in place are 4-inch I-beam steel, which isn't heavy enough for ice. Ice is gonna move that. And they're put in the wrong direction. Anyway.
Well, anyway, if we're going to build something, let's build it right.
Okay, yeah. Which means $1 million, but it doesn't really. Do we have access to put those docks up on a trailer, move them out of the way, back to the road shed or something, just to keep,
We could
get
get,
around?
I'm sure we could get them out of the way. What we would be doing, I think, would depend on the decisions of council. If you're just gonna buy a new one, then I would be as gentle
Okay.
with them.
But in a sense of now, my next thing is put them up for sale, because there's people around that will buy them. So it'll knock down if you're putting a new dock system in, then you can gain some money back from selling the old docks. And that will help. I mean, it won't cover all the costs, but you don't expect it to. So if we could,
Same thing we did with the
for
playground.
this weekend anyway, get the docks moved out of the way so that, because not everybody can back up a trailer, and we don't want, I've got about a foot on each side with my trailers, and that's it, between hitting the dock and hitting cement.
So let's have a meeting on Friday at noon. Let's see what we can sort out. Sherry's going to have Megan see if DFL can join us by Zoom. If they can't come in person, by Zoom is fine. Well, getting some in-water works done to get this thing rolling, then the council can pick out a plan, what they're going to go with, and we can make a decision about the ferry dock on Friday after we have that discussion. Chris?
May I ask that we have Crow Dock, a couple other reputable companies, just give us some insight for Friday.
Okay, I guess we can reach out to them if that's what your direction is. Is there a motion to do that?
I move to get some input from professional installers. Say, look, looking at this, what do you suggest?
Is this for Shannonville as well, or is this
No,
for?
this is just for ferry lane,
Just
just for the
ferry
ferry
lane.
lane.
Do we
Yeah.
already
What did
have
you call that
information?
organization?
You already had somebody
One
come
was
in
Crow
and make
Dock,
that
but I'm not
recommendation
promoting
that
one or
that
the
be,
other.
Pro Dock.
We've got quotes to replace 2 companies.
From a dock companies or just from consultants? Who were the
Why
companies?
would I get a price
No.
from a consultant to replace a dock?
Okay, who were they? Were they're local guys?
No, I don't know where they are.
Oh,
Price. Like
Okay.
local, you mean like from the territory?
No, not local from the
In
territory.
the immediate,
just
in the
some
immediate area. I think
area.
the one that supplied some docks for Deserano. And,
Okay.
I could.
so we
So-
have that
I could
information
send you the
already
quotes.
done.
You
Yes.
guys-
So Tom has instructions now how to deal with the Shannonville dock. Okay, that motion is carried.
Yep.
Then there's now a motion on the floor to apply to Corda for funding for the dock repairs.
The call was last November, I think it was the middle of 23rd, something like that, it closed for this year. So it's not an option.
Well, we can apply.
Because the work will
For
already,
next year.
Call for next year,
For next year.
yes.
you might want to call Corda to see if they would consider it in light of the fact that we're already in the boating season. Let's see if they would allow us to proceed based on, with a chance of getting next year's money. All we can do is ask. Now, but I doubt very much they're going to pay for something that's already built. And then I guess the other part is to have input for a pro dock, for the Ferry Lane dock.
Which we already have
And,
from 2 people, you've said.
We
Yeah.
have 2 quotes.
and then to ask DFO to attend a meeting. On Friday,
What's the DFO to attend for? To ask them if we can go in the water
if we
earlier?
can go ahead of the July 15th.
I'm gonna abstain, or well, not abstain, I'm gonna disagree with that because I don't think we should go in the water if it's closed for spawning. I think it's up to us to respect that.
There have been,
Especially us.
I think when we had to do repairs on the emergency repairs when we had the major flooding on Beach Road, we had to do in-water works there. And it was urgent to save that road. So there are,
Well, I think that's very different.
but we can
I
ask.
still
because know
disagree with that.
There seems to be some urgency to get this dock in the water. And so
100% I agree with that, but I don't agree with going in. I think it's up to us to respect the land and preserve the land.
Okay.
And if the recommendation from the DFO is to not go in before July 15th, then I agree with that. And I will not agree with asking to go in sooner.
okay. Is that,
But you all are entitled to your opinion.
No.
That's just my opinion.
We gotta do, we gotta follow. I didn't understand, myself and Chris were talking a little bit earlier about why the 15th, now we understand why the 15th. Okay, so if if they say no, and nothing until the 15th, well, then we have to wait. So if we're gonna wait that long, let's do it right the first time, and not just not just a Band-Aid on it. Let's do it right. We've got that much time. It's taken 2 years now. Let's
Okay.
do it the right
I would
way.
still-
Make a decision and have that dock in that system, whatever it is, for the next 15 years.
And the other thing, you can't, what there is, like, if people want to have like a dock that you tie your boat up, that's one that's on wheels that you pull in and pull out. That's different than this kind of dock. And so to me, I would still consult DFO to get their advice, to make sure you don't wind up in the middle of construction, then have DFO come there and say, this is not right. Get them on board with it first, and you'll avoid all that. Chris?
Okay. This is it's gonna kind of hurt a little bit. And myself also, I think that, what Tom was saying about the actual steel that is bent, okay, and we're talking about how it not being safe. I use that same dock over the whole winter time on my own risk kind of thing, because with the size of my boats, I step out onto that dock, which is about 4 foot off the water. I step right onto the deck of my boats. Somebody in a 14-foot aluminum can't do that. They're going to have to, they'll have to get in their boats from shore. But what I'm saying is that for me to launch at this stop, I'm still at risk walking out onto that little extension, which is bent, to get into my boat, because I can't climb 4.5 foot up off a shoreline to get into my boat. So you know what I'm saying?
Okay,
So I nose my boat onto the shore, and I step from that dock that is there onto my boat, and then I leave.
Well, it's
So
made.
do we say, I don't know how to approach that.
Okay,
Like,
what
I mean, honestly.
We need a plan that everybody buys into, okay? And so I would still think that crew that's interested in this dock issue, they'll have a chance to have their input on Friday. We will get a hold of DFO to review our plans. And if would council still be opposed if they would grant us permission to go ahead with it earlier?
I'm opposed.
So who else would be opposed?
I'd be opposed, because our land, we're supposed to
Okay,
be.
We're the
so-
keepers of our
the
land. We need to
How many
respect
would be
that.
opposed to getting early start? Chris?
I'm just,
Don't divert the question. I'm asking a question.
I'm
How
just
many would be
wondering
opposed?
if it's simply two posts up, two replacement posts, and does it require a whole lot of in-water work? If you can do it from a boat, simply take those two legs off, put two legs
See,
on.
all of these are engineering questions that I'm not an engineer and I'm
But
not
doesn't that
qualified to
rock
answer it.
science?
Answer it.
I know, but
So
my,
then
just
that
my
would-
fear is if we go ahead and do the work and then DFO comes and says, hey,
I'm
we'll
not
get a
saying
slap.
DFO.
I don't want to get the slap.
I'm all
Well,
for having
that's
the-
why I would say have the meeting with DFO.
And we're
and
supposed to be caretakers of the land.
review your plans.
Can we see the quotes that were submitted? And I suggest, as I said earlier, it's a request actually, to have Crow Dock and others give us some free advice.
For me, for myself, because I'm a fisherman every weekend, and I'd love to be able to use our own launch. But at the same time, thinking about not so much myself, but others and safety.
Absolutely.
I think, and like I said before, it's going to hurt, but I think that we should barricade the ramp off, and which means our safety, our fire department will have to run all the way to Toronto to be able to get in to save somebody's life. Now, this is something that's been going on for the last 2 years, and earlier in the season in January, when things could have been done, we're put off. Now, it's put off till now, so we can't do anything about what's happened in the past. But what do we do? And that's why I said it's going to hurt.
So really all we had really was that, the committee didn't want consultants.
This could have been done 2 years ago.
But what different
We're
options
shovel ready
have
for
been
this
put
project.
before council, and the
Happened
council
then.
has decided what it is they want to do.
Ready.
2 years ago.
What's more important, the community safety or $1 million?
Well, we could still have the community safety and do it a lot cheaper, and I've told you that before.
So this table has
That's
been
not one or
waiting
the
for
other.
over a year for this man to do his committee.
It's not.
It's been deferred.
Okay.
This isn't staff hasn't done the work.
Listen,
This isn't staff hasn't done the work.
okay,
The work is ready.
people are getting upset over this conversation. Every time we have this dock thing, it turns into this.
Because all it needs to be is a decision. We're at the point that it doesn't matter what I say. You're asking me for opinions and then you don't care.
Yeah.
So just make a decision. Fix it, don't fix it, put a new one, don't put a new one. Just
All
give
the
me
staff,
direction.
okay, what we have here is individual opinions.
That's
We
right.
need a collective decision of council of what, would people pay attention, please? We need a collective decision of council on, to give the staff direction. What we have is individual opinions being voiced here. What is the collective resolution of council? And I still think council would be very ill-advised not to have DFO look at your plans, say, we're good with that. If there's different ideas have come forward. One is put new legs in and just stick that in there, and we don't have to abide by anybody's jurisdiction. There's concern of DFO would fine us if we're due in waterworks before July 15th. That's why I suggest you consult them.
Chief,
What
why
the
not
dock-
live streaming?
both the dock plan, what the dock plans are, because it may involve some in waterworks after July 15th. I don't know the extent to which DFO needs to approve those things. The other thing is the cost. There are different options. There's different prices that have been put before council for a temporary fix and a permanent fix. So there's been a suggestion, wait till July the 15th and fix it with the permanent one. And
We
wait till-
can get quotes up the hoop. I mean, how many quotes and how many referrals do we
And the
need to
staff
make a
are very
decision?
frustrated because they're not giving any direction. They feel like they're being criticized unfairly, and all they're waiting for is a decision of council, so they know what it is council approves of them doing.
Chief, I don't appreciate a staffer taking that dig at me like that.
Okay,
And why are we not live streaming? I'd like the whole community to see a staff person take a dig.
we are live streaming, which is not good. Which really, we have a decision.
Why has
to
it
make.
been deferred 4 times?
Because it's either spend $1 million and do it your way
That's not
and,
what you
and no
meant to say.
happy medium.
Okay.
No middle of the road.
Okay.
That's not
Million
what
or
you meant.
nothing.
It's
what
not
you-
our way, it's what's
It's been deferred since
recommended.
May.
do
It's been
is we're gonna
deferred
take-
since May 2023. Because
We're going to
waiting
take
on
a
it.
5-minute break here.
Yes,
We're going to
please.
take a 5-minute break when people can calm. Okay, is there a motion to, Chris Miracle has made a motion to apply to Corda for funding for the dock repairs. Is there a seconder to that motion?
I'll second that, Chief.
Chris Brandt. Is anyone opposed?
I'd show opposition to that because if it's already closed for this year, why delay it until November when it's apply again?
So you're opposed to Wari?
Yep.
Is anybody else opposed?
I just think we should keep our options open. So if it's meaning that we're not going to continue with anything in lieu of this application, then I'm opposed to that too. I'd like to see it come in faster. So if there's other methods that are open that can get it happen, you know, so it's ready ahead of time, then I'll agree for that.
Well, I can understand why we still can't apply for the funding if we do something about it now. And then wherever we're taking the money from to do the dock work, then put that money back from
Yeah,
when
if
the
there's,
funding
like,
comes through, and that's all we're doing.
Potential for reimbursement, then sure.
You know,
Yeah.
usually
All we can-
you have to- you
there's
can't
no harm-
predate.
Okay, yeah. Oh, okay.
I was just gonna say that we can't backdate.
Unless you
Okay.
get the contractor to give you an invoice for that.
There is no harm in asking, but I wouldn't have your hopes high that you're going to get approval for something that's already built, but you can still apply. But there is no intake right now, but I guess we can we can write a letter to Corda and explain the situation, Sherry, and see if there's any special consideration. Chris?
Chief, I also made a suggestion earlier to say option 1 and 3. I think 3 was brand new docks. So I will rescind my motion to apply to Corda for Ferry Lane. I will make a motion to apply to Corda for some work enhancements to Shannonville we talked about many, many years ago. But I'm going to put a motion on the floor to use our casino dollars to put new docks in. New docks.
Okay, so Chris is withdrawing the motion. Is the seconder withdrawing the seconder?
No, I'll second.
Then it's noted that the motion has been withdrawn by the mover and seconder. Is council agreeable that it be withdrawn? To apply to Corda.
Yeah, and apply to Corda for enhancements to the Shannonville project.
Okay.
Because Shannonville is lacking spaces up there to actually fish, et cetera, because Corda is going to be this fall. Let's defer this whole Corda thing for further discussion. But I want to put a motion on the floor to replace the docks. That way they'll get done for the summer. And we're not waiting for Corda and a maybe, and then maybe next year.
So replace Shannonville and
Sure.
Ferry Lane? Is that what you're
Yeah.
suggesting?
Yeah. And to engage professional dock installers.
Shannonville and Ferry Lane, okay.
This stuff's all been engineered. I don't want to reinvent the wheel.
Okay, but yeah, you already got quotes from professional dock installers for these.
Are they here now?
He gave us the amounts. I'm assuming these are the lowest quotes.
We have quotes.
And did we ask CroDoc?
We'd have to look at who submitted quotes, but at this point, will it matter who?
Well, just we used CroDoc in the past, and they were quite reputable, and they gave a lot of free advice in the past. Like,
I mean, Tom can look up who the quotes were from.
and invite CroDoc and other locals. You know, if we got 2 quotes, get 3 or 4 quotes.
Would this be a new RFP process?
Yeah.
Not if we're just getting quotes.
Not if you're just getting quotes, you can just.
So Tom, do you know who built the docks?
Yeah, CroDoc.
And I just heard today that it's not from Chris Brandt, they're not the right kind of legs for the dock.
Well, they were good for 20 years. It's just bringing 20 years later, and you know, things erode. Things have to get replaced. The things have life expectancies.
Which is why the professional engineers.
Okay. So then so the motion then is not withdrawn, it's amended, okay? It's amended to read that to work with, to replace the docks both at Shannonville and Ferry Lane, and to engage, to contact ProDoc about a professional dock installer for advice, and work with I didn't catch the first part. Work with, to apply to Corda to replace them, right?
No, the corridor was for advancements to Shannonville.
For funding, applicant to apply and ask if they would make special consideration to fund our projects
Okay, for
No, that
special
was-
consideration.
or advancement.
Okay, to see if we can get any because they were in the.
Well, we're
already in the
withdrawing. That's been withdrawn, so that's off the table now.
Yeah.
But he applied, he said advancements to the Shannonville.
We-
I thought the only thing we approved was to fix the ones in Shannonville,
We did.
We
so they
did,
can go out.
Yeah.
we already
Now
did.
this is
Another
taking
motion
this out
to
of that?
take
To rescind that.
So the motion is withdrawn and amended. Is that right, Chris?
Which one, Chief?
Well, the first motion we had was to spend $3,718.86 to repair the Shanville dock. That motion was already moved and seconded and carried.
Yes.
So-
So I rescinded the Corda one for the Ferry Lane because Corda wouldn't be an
Oh, for
application
Ferry
till the
Lane.
fall.
But we must be rescinding that one as well for the one to use own source revenues to buy a new dock.
So you want us to apply for Corda for the one in Shannonville?
No, I want to apply to Corda to do further enhancements in the Shannonville to complement the dock. So we're gonna get a new dock, but it needs more work up there. You'd have to maybe go see the site, Chief.
Okay.
There's,
Again,
there's a big break wall on the west side.
so the further enhancement is going to need a scope of work. It's going to need a cost. Otherwise, we don't know what we're applying for.
But I asked her to defer that for another day because Corda's not till the fall application.
Okay, so there's enhancements, then I guess
complicates
get something ready, Tom, that's what I understand? Okay, for enhancement, but I guess right now, does that motion stand, that temporary fix of $3,700 stands, and we're gonna go ahead and fix one in Shanville?
Yes.
So, Tom, you're to do that, okay? That's clear. Now, the ferry dock,
So did you not say the motion was to replace both docks?
With brand new ones.
The
With brand
docks.
new ones?
Yeah. Fix it. But then, because replacement takes a while, fix happens now.
So you're saying temporarily fix the Shannonville one for the $3,000 or whatever.
Okay.
But meanwhile, we're going to get brand new ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
Later down the line.
and
No, like now.
and then.
Within
now,
a couple
then
months.
construct brand new
For
ones.
around
Okay.
casino dollars.
Okay, so that'll be temporary for the temporary fix. It will be the motion
Just to be able to use them right now.
to proceed with the temporary fix for $3,718.86 for the Shannonville dock. Been moved and seconded. The mover and seconder agree as a temporary fix. Then the second motion then is to install new docks both at Shannonville and at the Ferry Lane, and use OLG funds.
Thank you.
It's moved. Is there a seconder to that?
Yeah, I'll second that too, Chief. But as far as the opening of Ferry Lane right now, I suggest that, yeah, we do already have a sign in place stating use at own risk, but I feel that we should keep the launch open, but barricade off the dock or the cement structure that is there, and post a sign saying not accessible. I don't know what wording
Okay.
should be on it, but because of the damage to the steel structure, the steel legs, should not be used, that part of it. But it will still allow our emergency fire and rescue boat to launch from that site to get to any kind of emergencies if needed.
Okay, the question, has anybody been down there to look at it?
Tom.
Okay, is there anything sticking up out of the water that could damage somebody's boat?
No.
No. The end of the ramp is crumbling, and as it crumbles, more rebar.
Okay,
could
so
be
then Chris, your
exposed,
motion
but-
then is to word it. Chris, you're making a motion that to keep the
Ramp open.
the ramp open, but close off the dock. Is there a seconder?
Are you talking to put like snow fence or something at the wood part, but the abutment, the concrete you can still use?
Well, the concrete doesn't even go into the water. It's short of the water, so nobody's gonna use that anyway. The concrete, and the only part that sticks into the water is that little 6-foot extension of the wood.
And that's when
And
you're
that's
gonna
the
pour it off
only
the whole
part
thing.
that, and it's, if you dropped a coin off of that end of that wooden part, it's in about 6, maybe 1 foot of water, and that's it. The water is very, very low this year, so, you could walk out there in knee rubbers to where that extension is. So anyway, block the whole dock off, that is there. Nobody's gonna be using that anyway to go fishing because there's no water there for them to go fishing. But just to be able to keep the ramp open for those that have smaller boats that can actually board their boats from the shore, but also that it gives our emergency fire and rescue a chance to get into the water as quick as possible.
I'll second the motion, Chief.
Okay, it's been moved by Chris Brandt and Chris Miracle so it's just to, the temporary fixed stands for Shanville in the previous motion, then there's a motion to order new docks for both Shanville and Ferry, but keep to block off the Ferry Lane dock, but keep the ramp open. That's the motion. Is anyone opposed to that motion? Anyone opposed to that motion? Motion's carried. And I would think administratively, it's a good idea if you're going to, anything that involves in waterworks, get DFO involved in the conversation early on instead of us reacting to their.
Are we still arranging a meeting for Friday?
If that's what I was suggested, is council.
Yeah, I think so.
You'll know better once you talk to Megan, right? Like, she don't know.
So anyway, what Sherry can do is who's interested in attending a meeting on Friday?
It would have to be in our lunch hour while
It'll be in the
we're,
lunch hour. So the two Chris's, anybody else from council?
We're all gonna be there.
We're all gonna be there for strategic planning.
All right, then, so if you can arrange it, just send the council an email, and then we'll go from there.
okay.
Friday at noon? And
That's,
I had a contact at DFO, I sent her an email to get you some contact, and so I sent you an email, Sherry.
okay.
And she's gonna send something back.
All right, thanks.
Okay, that motion's carried. And thank you very much. I want to say how much I appreciate when people have, offended each other, that we can apologize and we can move on and work together in a good way and as a team. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Question, the motion or item order is off the table, or it's still on?
No, Tom is, he wants, Chris has asked to look at enhancements to the Shannonville dock, and so Tom will have to work on that as a separate item and bring a recommendation back to council. That's just put Tom, just as an action item. Tom Crane will work on to identify any enhancements that are needed once the new docks are installed at the Shannonville site. And Chris, if you have ideas, please share them with email by Tom so he knows what it is you're looking for. Then everybody won't be frustrated. Okay, thank you. Okay, the next item.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. So the remote work from policy chapter, remote work from home policy, a remote work policy was created to be combined as a chapter into the existing Mohawk Bay Clinic. Remote work policy will fill a much needed gap to address remote work requests from employees. Review and approve this request. So Sherry, do you want to explain what this policy is, or Shu or Angela?
It's a new policy we'll be adding to our personnel policies, and it's making provisions for rare situations that come up where employees may formally request a work from home provision. If you look at the start of the policy and the policy statement is I'm still of the position that we need to be reporting to our workplaces. We're no longer in COVID times. I'd like to see our staff working from the office. So at the beginning of the policy statement right off the bat is that we do not encourage remote work. However, we understand that employees may require a remote work arrangement from time to time due to special circumstances. So this policy was developed with that in mind, to limit these, individuals calling their director or manager at midnight the day before to say they want to work from home the next day, or telling the manager and director they're working from home the next day, as rather than having it from an approval process. So that's what this policy moves towards, and needing that pre-authorization ahead of any work from home
Okay,
arrangement.
And what's the effective date of this policy?
It will be in effect the day that we approve it. It gets approved at this table.
30 days after, and notice goes out.
So if it's approved today, notice will have to go out and it'd be effective within 30 days.
Okay.
So it would be like June.
June 1st.
June 1st. Yeah.
And
It's a weekend, so maybe.
so Sherry, you're recommending this to council?
I am.
And is the Director of Operations supporting this recommendation? That wasn't the question. Are you supporting the policy amendment?
It's the policy of the full board.
Okay.
So
And
this
so-
was a consultation process between all the directors have had input into this, along with our policy advisor as well. So it's gone through that consultative process. So now it's at this table for you to look at as well.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the
I'll
policy?
motion to approve this. We have to show confidence in our directors, and they all got together to come up with this policy.
Aguirre, you're seconding it?
Yep.
Another question?
Go ahead.
So who will make the decision, you or the directors?
There's an application process and then it would be the director. If it's the directors applying, it would come to, it's all laid out here. Let's see. It's approval procedure.
Okay.
The process, the remote request form would need to be completed by the employee in full. If the request is due to medical issues, all relevant documentation must accompany the request.
Yeah.
And the form is then signed and submitted to the immediate supervisor or manager. Then the immediate supervisor or manager reviews the remote request and adds in their comments, approves or declines the request, and signs the form. The form is then provided to the director with the immediate supervisor and manager's comments, and the decision is then signed off by the director. If the request is declined, this shall be communicated to the employee at the time of the decision and will be sent to HR to be placed on their files. If the request is approved, a signed copy of the completed request form is sent to the HR department to also be placed on their files. The employee will be notified within 5 working days of the request. It can be extended if any of the parties are on leave. However, the employee cannot begin working remotely until the remote request agreement is signed by all parties.
My only concern was that I asked if it'd be you or the directors, because if you have different directors, they might interpret this differently. So I just want to make sure that it'll be your job to ensure that it's applied equally.
Yes.
One director's hardcore, or one's
No, it's
likes
pretty,
the idea.
this is very laid out in terms of the provisions, and it's only for a maximum of 3 months.
Okay.
So
thank
it
you.
would have to be reviewed every 3 months, in consultation with our HR department as well, because those are kept on HR files. Yeah, and then if it's a director asking doing the request, then it would come to me.
Okay, it's your recommendation. I'm up.
Okay, I think at least we have a policy now. It's pretty hard to enforce something when you don't have a policy. The other question I had, Sherry, is that all of the employees have cell phones, because to me, if you're working from home, if I need an answer to something and I have to call somebody, I expect them to answer their cell phone if they're at work. So they
Absolutely.
have to be available for work when they're working from home. So do all the staff have cell phones?
Those who would be able to work from home, not all of our 80% or more of our staff are not actually able to work from home as part of their
Okay,
jobs.
but the question, because when COVID came up and people started working from home, they had an office computer, but they didn't have laptops, and of course, then there's an issue of sending, confidential things to somebody's personal computer.
Yeah.
That can create, cyber attacks and all that sort of thing if it goes to a personal computer. So they didn't all have cell phones. They didn't all have an MBQ issued computer.
Once it's
So how can you work at home when you're not reachable?
yeah, and if the decision is made to support the work from home arrangement, that would be part of that review. What would they need to support them in that while they're working from home?
Because what happens when we can't get a hold of people, then I get a floodgate of calls. People then go to the chief's office because they can't get a hold of any staff.
It's quite explicit in this policy that they must be available from 8:30 to 4:30 regular work hours.
Okay, but we need to make sure that we know how to contact them. And the other thing is that reception needs to know, because otherwise they get frustrated knowing how to answer calls.
I don't expect this to be widely used. This should be on special circumstances. This is not an every week occurrence. This is special circumstances.
All right, that's good.
No, do we have a policy in place where within X amount of days, someone's going to get back to you? Because someone comes to council and say, I phoned 5 times, I went there 3 times, and they're never there, they never return my calls. Sometimes people are BSing, but sometimes it's true. So some organizations have ISO 9003 certifications that our policy says within X many days, you're going to get a response.
I mean,
do we have a policy that?
Usually organizations do have a procedure in terms of communications.
For callback, yeah.
Like, Jordan's principle, if they're supposed to get back in 48 hours, it doesn't happen. I can tell you that.
So do we have a policy?
Well, that would be another area that we could look at.
Could
We
or
don't
will?
have one now, I don't believe.
A service delivery policy.
Yeah, a service. Yeah, I like that idea, service
Thank you.
delivery policy.
And the other thing is there needs to be if people don't feel that they've been, I think we need a feedback form when people get services from our staff. Were they satisfied? Did they feel something was lacking? Were the staff courteous? Did they feel respected? All that kind of stuff is in a professional environment.
Yeah, we could blend that into this a service delivery policy
And so people
ability
can, fill out a form if they want to and
Yeah.
put it in a suggestion box.
for feedback. Absolutely, we're out. I think it's wise to assess our services to see how we can make improvements. Yeah, and we need to receive that feedback in order to do that. So I agree with that, and I think it could form part of that policy.
Because, that's our job here. We administer money that we get from government sources to provide programs and services. And people want to feel respected when they come here. And they have a right to feel that way.
Yes, they do. But we also have to remember respect is 2 ways.
Yeah.
And we've had people come in here not respectful as well.
Nobody has to put up with abuse or somebody screaming at their face or calling them names or mocking them or anything. Nobody has to put up with that.
Yeah,
That's just unprofessional. It does not belong in a workplace.
no. So that is a separate issue. It's a separate policy. But what do we feel about this one?
Unless we don't agree with that policy, If you want a different policy, we can, all these things are a go here, say so now. Now's your chance.
I'm just trying to be respectful and wait till you were done talking before I spoke. So all I wanted to say, Chief, was when we talk about how our employees are calling people back, but doesn't any of that get captured, Ange, through the employee evaluation? Does any of that get captured through that? Like employees' performance? Like, do they answer their phones? Do they call back at an efficient time and
It's
that kind of
goal-oriented,
thing?
but I won't know if Shelley called somebody back.
I think there would need to be like a complaint. If a complaint was made, then they would be aware of it, but there's kind of, I guess other than that, they might not have a way to know.
There's no,
Susan, I wouldn't know if Susan called somebody back. Like, my guess would be that, yeah, she's calling people back, but I don't know that what time she did it or anything unless I physically asked her.
there's no measurable mechanism to gather that yet, right now. Not to say down the road we couldn't look at something like that.
Okay, one of the things that I've noticed too, and people call you, it's, what I do is I send an email to the staff that should be calling them back. I put down their contact information, their email and their phone number. Because in this day and age of privacy with cell phones and a lot, they don't always leave their cell phone, so the staff don't know how to reach them. So if you get a complaint, let's have a standard form in terms of communication and put it all in the subject line. Because that helps the staff know how to get back to the people.
Yeah, and especially if you were to call somebody back, say tomorrow, but then you were off on a medical. If you had a note or something, who was ever taken over that position would be able to, they needed to call them back.
If you get a complaint, then they don't have to come to me to ask me, do I have their phone number? Then I have to run over to, if they knowing they have a water account, to ask them they have their phone number. We don't have to have all this searching around with numbers. So if you get a complaint, put that down, who it was, just a short paragraph, what the complaint was about, and the phone number in the subject line. That helps the staff get back to them.
I have given direction to all of our administration staff in each of the directorates that nobody should be turned away without being met with or talked to, whether it be on the phone or if they're coming into the office. If the person they're coming in to see is not available, then there should be another person in that directorate to cover that off and come out and see that individual or speak to that individual. If nobody's available, it should go to the director. If the director's not available, then it comes to the senior officer or myself. And then if it comes to myself, I'm going to be having a please explain why someone in the directorate was unable to speak to this individual. I do believe in client service. I do believe in providing that service to our members. So that is the direction I have given the staff, that they must be covering off if people are away on lunch hour or off sick or on vacation. It's just, no, they're not. I do not want to hear at the front desk somebody saying someone's not here and unable to take their call. Somebody in the directorate should be able to take their calls.
And I appreciate that, Sherry.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's wonderful and something we can talk about too, that development of that policy. But in terms of this policy, I'm good with it. I think it's good.
Have you read it? Have you had a
Yes,
chance
I
to
did
read it?
I didn't pick any. At first, I was kind of wondering, like maybe if there was an emergency that came up very quickly. But I did see that there's a little section that covers that too, to say you got to use your sick time. But
they have to utilize their personal leave
Yep.
time, and they get lots of leave.
Yep.
Lots of sick time, lots of vacation time. They're to use those leave provisions.
and then if that changes into a work from home, then that'll go as it goes, right? Okay, I'm good with it. I think it's
Yeah, the other thing, Sherry, that I noticed is that the water accounts, they don't have all of that tombstone data, like how to get in contact with their clients if they get behind with their water bill. Because what's happening is the water, as people are hooked up to the water with the WSA inspection, that information doesn't get communicated to Josh so they can update their records to have numbers to contact their clients. If they make an application for a water connection, all that information is there. So I did speak to Michael yesterday to ask him if he could send all that over to Josh so they can have all that critical information there. If they ever have to follow up on accounts, then they have all the information, the tools there at hand to work with. So we just need to streamline the communications there.
Yeah.
I'll motion to approve this policy.
Moved by Aaron, who will second it?
We did that already.
I thought
Did
that
you?
was already done.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it was moved by Chris and seconded by
Gotcha, guys.
O'Clory. Anybody opposed? Motion's carried.
Nope. I'm done.
The next item on the agenda is the Canada Summer Jobs Program. And the recommendation is to approve and sign the agreement. It's been attached. It's for $16,060. And there's a budget there that shows you where the rest of the money comes from, but this is what comes from the Canada Summer Jobs Program. Does council agree? If so, I need a motion to sign the agreement.
I'll
Yep.
motion, chief.
I'll second.
I think there's also a letter or an email that came through to
Yeah.
hopefully ask
Kelly?
for them to reconsider only giving us 3 now,
Yeah.
which I also agree with.
See approved. Anyone opposed to that? Seeing none, the motion is carried. There's a couple of add-ons here.
Are they private ones?
Warrior.
Oh, there's 2 regular ones.
This just came
Yeah.
in.
And Aaron.
Well,
Sorry.
No,
This doesn't have to go.
at least I'm not called Aaron again today.
Did we make a motion for the AI delegates? We did, didn't we?
Yeah.
Okay, that's done. Now, the next item is the foundation for the tiny, let's do the ISO bulk planning study. So right now, the ISO is focusing on more transmission.
it's at the very bottom. It's an add-on to regular. It'll say regular with like a little
Add-ons.
sticky on its head.
No, have one says add-ons. Down at the very end.
I've got an updated agenda, maybe you don't.
Add-on.
So anyway.
Thanks.
Okay, so anyway, the independent electric supply Ontario is having planning studies to increase the capacity. It's called the Ontario Bulk Planning Studies. And right now the focus is on southwestern Ontario. There'll be one for central and then one for east. So that does affect our area. So we are in this one here. And so I would, if they're going to do anything with transmission lines, that does affect our land claim area. And so I'd like to have more information. And so the purpose of this here is to get more information of what is involved in the Eastern Ontario bulk study. Obviously, Ontario has to double its electricity supply by 2050. They're targeting net zero. They need to do more power generation. They need to build more transmission lines. There needs to be public consultation with First Nations communities. There's opportunity to invest money in energy regeneration projects. I would like the council and our staff to have more information, and that this can be shared with us by the ISO and the Ontario Power Generation Corporation. So this is a meeting just more or less to get more information of what's going on. I guess our concern would be to have a sufficient electricity supply that services our area. They're projecting a population growth of 22 million people by 2050. They plan to build 1.5 million homes. There's economic expansion, which requires more transmission of power. To Pickering, they're going to build another transmission line to free up more electricity to serve the eastern area. So there's a whole lot of stuff going on that can affect the electricity supply. So we need to stay ahead of it and on top of it. So it's really just an information gathering to help the council and our staff understand more of what's happening in the electricity sector.
When's the date for that?
So
It says April 9th.
Oh, that was their last meeting
So there was a meeting on April 9th, but I did request a meeting with Nadia to update our council staff. They agreed to do that, so we have to identify some dates. If council wants to do that. I would strongly recommend you do because electricity is pretty important. And of course, the goal is to make it reduce carbon emissions and to also keep it affordable.
How
And
soon do they need this meeting to happen? Do they have plans that are coming up soon?
Well, the Eastern Ontario program study is not going to commence till probably 2026, but we do need to identify some dates. So maybe we could just schedule them for an hour at a regular council meeting. It'll just be high level stuff at this point.
Sure.
Just to inform you right now, there's a lot of work being done. And so the focus is going to be really on equity for projects for transmission lines, because Northern Ontario, there still is a lot of communities that operate under diesel generation electricity. And so they have to build transmission lines. They want to develop the Ring of Fire. There has to be roads built up there. So there's a lot of infrastructure that's needed in the north. So there's a strong focus. And of course, there's a lot of growth happening in southwestern Ontario.
Do you want them to be a part of the next May regular meeting or June?
Well, what we can do, let's try and schedule them or at a local council business meeting, that's a regular council meeting, give them an hour.
An hour?
Yeah.
So they'll be just filled, a spot will be allotted for
To meet with them?
to meet with these guys.
Yeah, just
during a regular, so
just
they'll have to make.
Do
a note of
another
it.
day?
No, but I just wanted to check with council to
Oh,
see
that's
if you're interested in being
Fine with
updated
that.
on election.
Sure, information doesn't hurt.
Nope, I agree.
Who will move that?
I'll move it.
Aaron, who will second it?
I'll second that, Chief.
Curtis?
Or did you? You're too quick.
The motion is carried. Thank you. The next add-on is the MRF Zone 20 Committee. Okay, go ahead, Chris.
He just
He's
stepped up
just
for one
stepped
second.
up.
No, I think this other item here, Sherry, this eviction letter, that's private, is it?
Yes.
So the next item is the foundations for the tiny home projects. Do we need Tom to come back in for this?
I don't know yet. Depends.
I thought you handled that last council.
I'm bringing
I'm
it
assuming this is
forward.
for North Street. I'm assuming this is for North Street.
I presume that it's what I thought too.
This is one that's been deferred as well, and I'm bringing it forward again for some council discussion and hopefully a decision on which method we're going to be utilizing. I know there's been a lot of emails back and forth between some of. I'm sorry, I'm new to the whole building code stuff, but the bodies of oversight amongst or between them. And I know Tom has reached out for clarification as well. So we have provided you in that particular folder all of the documentation we have to date in hopes that we can move towards a decision.
Like I'm still on the grounds of let's follow what was recommended based on the geotechnical reports,
Same.
which was the traditional foundation.
One of the organizations did make mention that we can do it whatever way you know chief and council determine they want to go, but you would also be assuming liability because it hasn't been approved through.
Well, but when
other
this, when I read this one email that when the inspectors come, they go by the National Building Code or the
Code.
Ontario Building Code. And
Yeah.
if that's part of those building codes, then that's what they use. So then they would, I guess then would they pass the inspection or not pass it?
Well, I mean, from what I'm
Because
understanding,
building
we are at
inspectors have to
liberty.
go by some kind of code.
That's right. We're at liberty to use whatever we want at our own discretion. However, if it's not an approved method, it would not be supported by these governing agencies.
Well, I guess my question is when the building inspector comes, what is he going to go by? Because the
building
open
code.
STC said this is what they recommend.
He's required to follow building codes by law. That's part of his licensing.
And in the past, when the inspector came and they made allowances, the band actually wound up being held liable, and we were involved in a court case over something like that. Now, mind you, the person went ahead and built their houses and never allowed the inspector to come until it was all up. Then they expected him to inspect something they couldn't see.
In all fairness, the only true here on the territory electrical inspection inside of the house is mandatory. Is mandatory because over 90%, I don't know if you know this, Aguari, do you know the percentage? But over 90%, maybe Chip knows, of house fires are electrical. Is that?
Yeah.
That so, and that's why it is so important that really they're on the reserve. If somebody is building a house off the reserve, they need even to put up siding. They need a license for that.
Okay.
They need licenses for everything. But here on the reserve, all we need is electrical inspection.
So I chair the Chiefs Committee on Housing and Infrastructure. And 1/3 of the houses on Ontario First Nations need major repair. That tells me one thing, that they were not built properly or the maintenance wasn't done. And there was this cost saving, cutting corners. And as a result, now there's a humongous $89 billion needed $58.9 billion needed just to deal with the backlog of housing repairs on First Nations on reserves in Ontario and for infrastructure. But these are in the billions of dollars. So you're going to build it, you need to build it right so that it will last and you're not going to need all of this additional repair money. And so I think that's why the government has sort of tightened up on this here, wanting to building code speed here too. It's been recommended by SEVA. It's been recommended by the Open STC. And so, but they do say it's up to the First Nations. If you want to have your own rules, well then make them. But the inspectors will go by the building code. Chris?
I know that I could see those numbers too in older homes. In older homes, when they were built back in the day, were only constructed of 2x4 exterior walls, 2x4 interior walls. Although that has changed now, that is changed by 2x6 exterior walls and still 2x4 interior walls. Which
as the times changed, we kept up with what we built the houses different as we kept up with the times
As we
to
should.
build our houses. And so if there was better insulation standards, we kept up with it. If there was R2000, we kept up with that. But now the funders are looking for compliance to the building codes. Aaron?
I would like to go forward with the recommendation to move with the traditional foundations for the tiny homes at the North Street development, because that's also recommended by the geotechnical engineer and all of that information. And to approve the carbon concepts, the number 2 on the recommendation sheet there.
So you're approving the recommendation.
I
Is there a
think we've got
seconder
all
for
of the
that?
information given to us now with the recommendations, and this is it.
Is there a seconder for that motion?
I'd second that.
Ogwari,
Chief, I just want to provide some clarity.
go ahead.
You asked me to reach out to CMHC
Yes, I did.
and Indigenous Services Canada,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a deja vu moment. Because when I went to work for headquarters Indian Affairs 20 years ago, and I used to report directly to the RDG.
Okay.
When he was replaced with a new RDG, she came here and we talked about housing on a national level. And I said, you know what, we gotta work on capacity building. We gotta work on changing attitudes. Because there's a lack of knowledge, building science, energy efficiency, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I said, once we correct that within Indian Affairs and other government agencies, we'll work with the First Nations. Where I'm going with that is the people we reach out to give approval to, most of them don't know diddly squat. They were plopped into this position to learn. And all of a sudden you get people who know nothing about a subject matter giving you decisions. So when I reach back out to them, when I reach out to SIVA about slab on grade, Chris, what are you talking about? He knew nothing what I was talking about. CMHC, nothing what I was talking about. OFNTSC, nothing what I was talking about. So these people are supposed to be experts, but they don't know, respectfully, they didn't know diddly squat. At the end of the day, slab on grade construction is within the building code. All those people hadn't seen the booklets. All those people were not given a copy of the notice that says, yeah, this is an exemption. It meets the code. But this standard regurgitated, gotta have a PN stamp. No, engineers, designers, architects studied that stuff to death, our slab on grade, and said, yeah, this meets the code. The Canadian home builders, they don't promote homes that aren't built to code. The Canadian home builders give those granny homes the national award. Ontario home builders give them a provincial award. OFNTSC even gave us a special award. Fast forward 20 years, because they know nothing about it. Oh, we don't accept it. They don't know nothing about it. It's like the blind leading the blind. But at the end of the day, the slab on grade construction does meet the building code requirements.
Okay,
CMHC said it. Oh, yes, Chris, that's correct. You asked, they both said, absolutely, we're unaware. So I don't like consultants who also, all the consultants that give you opinions, engineers, not one of them received the booklet.
okay, but
The government approved design saying, yeah, this is within the code. Because they didn't know, they said, oh, you got to have an engineer. And then they tell somebody, and then they tell the council, and then the council says, oh, okay. But the recommendations were all incorrect. The information was incorrect.
well, okay, if the advice that these people that are making the policy on the government side are wrong, then we need to
Well, not
challenge.
wrong.
We need to have a meeting with them all.
No, they were corrected. And that you have emails from CMHC saying, oh yeah, Chris, it's within the code.
What they said is, we don't want to follow the national building code and we want to have our own policy. You're welcome to do that. But the inspectors will be following the building codes. And you have to have an inspection on these houses and you have to report.
And they were inspected and they were approved. They were built in 1996 and we just built them again in Shannonville. 26 years later.
And so-
And the inspector still approved it.
So Glenn Goodman is the advisor, I guess, to the Chiefs Committee on Housing and
He is?
Infrastructure.
Well, there you go.
And so he said, oh no, he's been made quite an issue of that on one of our calls. And then SIVA, before we could get funding for one of the projects, we had to send him stamped engineered drawings. Otherwise, we couldn't get the funding.
No, it wasn't SIVA, it was the environmental folks.
No, it was SIVA.
No, when I talked to SIVA, he was not aware of it. It was environmental people.
We never talked to environmental people. I was on the call, Chris, and it was SIVA did not want us to have. You talked to Tom, we had to send him stamped engineered drawings to get that project approved.
Because at the time, SIVA was unaware. So you can't have uninformed people making decisions. At least not take guidance
But
from
how long's he been in that job?
12, 15 years.
So
That's more than enough time that he should have known this.
He knows now.
Too late.
So
I
anyway.
just think we should continue with what was recommended. Like,
Okay, so there's obviously a policy dispute here, but I think rather than hold up the project, it's been moved and seconded to go ahead with this plan here to get the job done and get these houses built and address the housing need. Then if we need to have a broader policy discussion with the parties that we get funding from, let's have it and let's have a meeting about it. If they're wrong, they're wrong.
No,
But-
they've already been corrected, Chief. They've already sent emails saying, oh, yes, we understand now.
What they're saying,
I
they
didn't see
respect
those
they didn't say they agree with it. They didn't say you're entitled as a
Assume
First
your
Nation
own
government to do what you
liability.
please, but but ours, for inspection purposes, they're gonna follow the building codes.
And
And it does make
we
it
would
so
have
that
to
these
assume the liability.
And that these provisions for stamped engineering drawings are supposedly in the building codes. So if it's in the building code, maybe we need to pull it out, chapter and verse, where does it say that?
So like for,
Like, I'm not a building inspector.
Okay, this is where I come back to saying, when you're off territory, whatever foundation, there's an inspection and there's a cost for the foundation. Then the construction of the building, there's another inspection, another cost. Insulation needs an inspection and another cost. We do not do that here. The only inspection that we need on the reserve is electrical, and that's it. There is no other inspections.
There is,
All
Chris.
There's like five inspections for a house.
I never had to do one, just one.
Because we don't have a bylaw in place.
If it's band money, if there's mortgage money or a band built house, then those inspections apply. But if the band member is using their own money, it's up to them to get an inspector or not.
Okay, yeah, that's where, because the two houses that I built out of my own pocket. So, yeah, like I said, but when I built it out of my own pocket, the only inspection that I did have to 100% need to move forward with my house was electrical. And that was
Because
it.
we
So-
do pay a lot of money out of housing for inspectors, and we need to find, is the inspector expected to go by the Canada Building Code? The Ontario Building Code, or no building code at all?
No, and you're correct. We can only utilize that when they're using like a mortgage through a bank or through us. That's the only way we can monitor that.
Anyway, but these are band houses, so it's been moved and seconded, moved by Aaron Aguirre to approve the recommendations 1 and 2. Is there any, so which means to approve to utilize a traditional footing, approve to obtain carbon concepts to complete the building plans for the tiny houses projects for $2,950. Is council agreeable to proceed? Is there anybody opposed to that motion? Is there anybody opposed? The motion is
I'm
carried.
going to abstain, Chief.
Chris Miracle abstain. And maybe we can arrange a policy conversation with SEBA and Trim and Glenn Goodman. Okay. The MNRF, Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry Zone 20 Committee. What is the Zone 20 Committee?
I got a call, you guys remember Andy Todd that came and presented for the walleye egg harvest by the Oceans and Fisheries. Anyway, I got a telephone call from Andy Todd asking that he had mentioned to me that in the past they approached TMC to have somebody sit on this Zone 20 committee. And what the Zone 20, we are located in the M&R's Zone 20, which is an area of harvest, whether it's fishing or hunting, whatever. They are throughout Ontario. All of these sections are put into zones, and we are located in Zone 20. Okay, so they have a committee that takes care of the fishing and wildlife in our zone. And for example, Zone 17, there are 3 First Nations, which one is Curve Lake, the other one is Alderville, and what is the third one up there? There are 3 reserves that sit on Zone 17 committee. We have nobody that is a voice from Zone 20 that are First Nations.
Okay.
And we are the only ones. So Andy had asked me if we would be interested, once again, now that it's a new council, if we would have somebody sitting. Well, I'm asking for, the rest of council and chief's approval for myself to sit
I
on
agree
that
with it.
committee.
I'll move.
Okay,
And also, if I could, if we could ask, I don't know how busy Megan is, because she is a part of our natural resources, if she could join me, if she would like to. And the reason why they asked, or the reason why we got a telephone call, is because the ministry, or the Oceans and Fisheries, they would like to ask the Ministry of Natural Resources to change the fishing law in the Ganaraska River, which is the salmon so in other words, from early September to middle of October, to cut out all fishing rights other than First Nations. They want to see the salmon be able to spawn more.
Okay, now, so the Ganaraska River is near Port Hope.
Is in Port Hope, yes.
Okay, now one thing that is in the Williams Treaty area, and the Williams Treaty area is west of Carrying Place, and so the Williams Treaty do not recognize Haudenosaunee rights there. We say we have rights because of the 1701 Dish with One Spoon Treaty, so there's a bit of conflict there.
But they just wanted to.
But I think the appointment. But my understanding was, I thought David Soulier was on this DFO committee. Is that right, Shelley? It had to do with what?
St. Lawrence River and Lake Ontario.
But Chief,
Because I don't think there ever was a motion to appoint David Soulier on a committee, was there?
Yes, there was, but it wasn't this committee that he's referring to.
So do we need another appointee on the committee that he's on, since he no longer works for us? Can you bring that motion forward for the next agenda?
so now it's my understanding, and what Andy had talked about, is he does realize that the Ganaraska River is out of our zone, and he knows that it's in zone 17, which are the reserves that I had mentioned. But he said what it's all about is protecting the salmon spawn.
Okay.
So, and he said, I realize that it's in that, but those salmon eggs and the hatchlings are all through Lake Ontario, which is also giving us those salmon, you know, they make the way.
What we should do is have a conversation with Chief Carr and Chief Tainer Simpson from Alderville and from Hiawatha about that, as well as the chief from the Credit River, because we're going to get into conflict. We have to observe the politics of that treaty, even though we don't agree with it. It's just good politics to talk to them.
I mentioned that very same thing in a conversation yesterday afternoon to Andy, and he was going to bring it up because he had a meeting with those First Nations from Zone 17, and he was going to bring it up to that. He was talking to me, and that because I told him that, you know, as the Mohawk and out of our zone, we don't want to step on their feet. So he was going to bring it up to them what their thoughts were of us, but still, we might not have a say on the Ganaraska River, but I think we should still have somebody sit on the board for Zone 20.
See,
I agree.
That's where we do. I think we do have a right, because, you know, one thing I noticed with this electricity plan, that they deliberately leave out the Haudenosaunee people. And I don't know that, I've noticed that's been in a lot of their policy, who they should consult. The Haudenosaunee people are being left out. And I think it's because the Iroquois caucus doesn't draw any line of traditional territory on a map anywhere. They just say, oh, well, we're Longhouse and it's all ours. It's all ours. These other people have signed treaties. And so that's what the government is going by. They're not going by all of that oral stuff. And so, Chris?
Finish talking, Chief.
You're next after I'm done. Okay. So, I lost my train of thought. so there's a 1701 treaty rights there where they agreed to share the resources, okay? And if that's impacting on the amount of salmon in the lake, then I think we have the right to raise that as an issue by letter to them to say that, we've been approached by M&R with this, but I would support Chris being appointed to this DFO committee.
And we can ask Megan if she would like to be on that committee also.
Okay, so let's get a resolution then to appoint Chris and Megan to the committee.
Yeah, so I'll make a motion to have Chris on that committee, a motion for Chris to be our representative on the St. Lawrence River Lake Ontario Committee. And a question for Chris, are they trying to get the Atlantic salmon to reproduce? Because Pacific
Yes.
won't.
The Atlantic salmon really is the only native salmon to Lake Ontario. There's very, very, very strict laws on keeping Atlantic salmon. In any of the charter people that charter, I know a lot of charters around Lake Ontario, even on the US side, and they do not keep any Atlantic salmon. They release everything back just to try to keep the numbers there.
So the Ganaraska initiative, is it to protect the Atlantic? Not so much they're concerned about the Coho and Chinook?
Well, Atlantic salmon are different than the Chinook salmon.
right.
They do spawn, but they return back to Lake Ontario, where the Chinook salmon, when they spawn,
They die.
They die, and that's it. And whether it's 3 years or 4 years, whenever that salmon does release their eggs, or during their spawn, which is in the fall, they automatically die. But there hasn't been so much visual reports on Atlantic salmon in the Ganaraska during the spawn of the king salmon, the Chinook salmon.
All right. So it's been moved by Chris Miracle to appoint Chris Brandt to the Zone 20 committee
I'll second it, Chief.
and also the St. Lawrence River committee.
Chief, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Can we get an update on the hatchery tour for White Lake?
Okay, I think so. Does staff know what that's about?
Shelley, are you
I'd asked her.
aware of that too?
I'd asked her if she would look into it when I
Okay,
just
that'll
go
be an
by one
action
day.
item.
So
Megan, that's a White Lake hatchery.
So,
she was going to look into it.
Megan was going to go
She-
into
she's
a
been
range
busy.
for us to let us know.
okay, so that's an action item for Megan to follow up on, to an update on the white.
Oh, okay.
And got back to us, because we were gonna invite him to the June 19th meeting to meet about a hatchery here on Tyendinaga. He's come back and said maybe you should go there, and go to this white fish.
Okay, but
All in the same day, have a meeting with M&R and visit the hatchery, all, but now you get new date.
okay, but one thing I thought I heard them say when they were here, that they didn't think a hatchery was a good idea.
That's my concern.
And so I
Scuttle.
they're the biologists. I'm not a biologist, but so I guess you're going to have to convince them that they're wrong.
No, we don't have to convince them.
No.
We don't have to convince them. If we feel that a hatchery, and I strongly feel a hatchery is in our best interest. Now, we sat here and we heard Andy talk about this summer is going to be a poor harvest season for walleye because the length of the winter. And we hear all about global warming. Are we going to ever see the winters that we had before? Probably not. So what does that mean? It means the walleye population will start to decline. If
It
we
already
can-
is. It already is.
It
It's
is,
on the verge of
and it
collapse.
has been. Although when they do their census, it's over a 10-year period. It's not every 3 years. It's 10 years that they do all of their census. So you put 3 years of poor harvest, or not poor harvest. Sorry, poor winters, and 3 years in a row with everybody fishing like this coming weekend. You're gonna see easily like 10,000 fishermen or more, 15, 20,000 fishermen after the walleye, and they're going to take them home to eat. So we have 3 years of that in a row. I feel that us having a hatchery, no matter what Andy talks about, I think it can only benefit us and our people.
Okay. Maguire?
I know when when he was in this meeting, he did say that walleye like colder water. So if the bay isn't staying at the proper temperatures for the walleye, they're not going to be coming in there to be tracked anyway. So they're going out to the lakes and everything else.
That has to do when he talked about the colder waters for a longer period of time, and what it does is it allows the eggs inside of those walleye to mature to be able to spawn. So with the longer the winter time and the colder the water, the better the eggs become.
Well, I'm just wondering, if we do put a hatchery here, are we going to be feeding the bay, or is it just going to all be going to the bigger lakes where the water's colder?
They will go out in the summertime, but they always come back. That's what he had stated. They're just like salmon. The walleye, they put 87 to 90 tracking devices on these walleye, and they have seen these walleye travel as far as Hamilton through the summertime, but always come back to the Bay of Quinte. Every single tracking device that they had came back to the Bay of Quinte. So they're
No, he
kind of
said
like
some
salmon.
don't come back. He said some don't come back.
They stay in Wapoos and they stay in that area, because I've seen this presentation 4 or 5 different times. And actually, I just seen it not this past weekend, the weekend before.
I think a hatchery here would be good for the community, whether it's just even to save face to non-native fishermen that say we just take and take and take and don't put anything back, whether it's just to save face, or if it's to help with the walleye population.
We made the motion, all right?
We're still.
Yeah, you guys motioned, so then we can just have this.
Yeah, we did.
Okay,
You did. No, I did.
Just one thing,
You did.
Brandon
right.
Arnold has asked, is anybody from council going to attend the Murdered and Missing Women event on the 5th? You're going to attend? Would you
On
speak
the
at
5th,
it?
I thought it was Saturday.
It's the 4th, there's something on Sunday.
The one here is on Saturday, and then they're having one in Belleville on Sunday.
So
I
it-
didn't know about the one in Bell, because I know I'm going to the one here on Saturday.
I'm
And I
attending the
can't
one
go
on
to the
Saturday,
Sunday because we have our Midway Day celebration that day.
And where is it on Sunday?
It's supposed to be.
Belleville?
Probably Market Square. Probably at Market Square.
No, it's not at the Market Square, it's a different location.
And
But-
you were going to speak at that?
No, I can't, I have to go to Toronto. To catch my plane
he's
to go
flying
Well,
to.
I
out.
could if somebody writes me the speech.
Told you.
I already sent an email to Susan
Okay, anyway, I can,
and said if they could write me up something, I wouldn't mind. I would speak on Sunday.
okay, that'd be fine, Linda, that'll be great.
Thank you, Linda.
So get back to them, so I sent everybody an email to ask if there's any volunteers to let him know. If nobody had answered, then to let Susan speak, but go ahead and she'll write something up for
Okay,
you.
perfect. I already sent her an email and told her that.
Yeah.
Time on Saturday?
On Saturday. What time is that meeting?
10 o'clock is the walk,
It's a walk
Native
from
Women's
The
Walk.
ball diamond to the pier, I think.
But I can
Yeah,
tell you,
that's
one of the things why so many,
for it.
there are so many murdered and missing is because of the lack of affordable housing.
That's part of it, yes.
That
And
and the
abusive
lack
men
of
that, that
sometimes
they stay with.
police don't listen to when an indigenous woman says they're in
Grow
trouble.
up.
Sometimes they're just brushed off, saying that, you're one of those streetwalkers. We have some of those situations with the missing and murdered women.
So any of that, that's pretty much, and now the other thing we did, it's been circulated to council, there's been some questions about Union Gas, Enbridge and what they're supposed to, the agreements were found that were signed on the 4th of October 1972, as well as the, so anyway, to answer, in February the 10th, 2016, there was another permit issued.
What's that, what's that for?
Union Gas, there was a question about what Enbridge should be doing in terms of hookups. So this information here, I'd like to make a motion to acknowledge it was received here. This is dated March the 21st, 2016 from the Department of Application for Registration for the Union Gas Permit, but the agreement, and it's all about, was with Northern and Central Gas Corporation and Mohawks, the Bay of Quinte. It was signed by Chief Earl Hill,
What copies of that, Chief?
Carl Brandt,
I read the email that got.
Carl D. Brandt, Willard Brandt, Claire Brandt, and William J. Brandt. So it's already been sent to the council.
Yeah. Email.
We can get you a photocopy.
I'll make a motion to accept that, chief.
To acknowledge that it's been sent around to everybody. Moved by O'Gary, who will second it?
I will.
Motion, Chris Brandt?
Chris, yeah.
Motion's carried. So if you want to, if there's anything you're concerned about, Chris, put it on the agenda. But Shelley, can you get Chris a copy of this, all this material?
I'm good. I just want to do this.
But don't run off with that. Motion to break for lunch.
Yeah, I'll motion.
Aaron, who will second it?
I'll motion to go into private.
Go in private, Aaron and Curtis, motion's carried.
Also, I have to leave